You brought up before this Samoa Joe convo the NXT names that they can bring back and whatever, and you went with Heat Wave, but why not NXT?
Summerfest.
No, unless you get like Jeremy Piven to host it, maybe.
And I feel like that could happen, but maybe Samoa Joe's here to bring us.
Summerfest.
You just brought up a reason to use that button. That's all you wanted to do. That had nothing to do with what you was talking about.
That's why I had to circle back. You see,
you just wanted to find a reason to use that in the show, and this was the opportunity for you.
It was because I can't use it, for King of the Ring '97.
I mean, I guess you could have found a way because you didn't have to use it here.
The ideal time would have been when you were listing those names, and I just completely it didn't even occur to me. So I had to make up for it in my own mind.
Okay, I'm glad you.
I had to make Todd Pettengill proud.
Why does it have to do with Todd Pettengill?
Because he's my guy.
Okay, all right. Say no more.
We just had Takeover in Your House, so he's a man. I hope he comes back every year for this. Or I would love to see him back full time, but he does what he does. But if he can come back at least for the Takeover in Your House, I'm like, it's enough for me.
Where's Sean Morley, man? Sean Morley? Morley.
See, you don't even know his name.
Mooney! Sean Mooney!
You don't even know his name.
Man,
he's supposed to be your guy. And
He
you don't even know his
is. I
name.
swear he is. Sean Mooney. Where is he at? Oh, man. I deserve it. Damn, that's the second time I did that. Keep confusing him with about Venus. What's wrong with me? Sean Mooney. No relation to the late great Paul Mooney. Sean Mooney. Where the hell is he at? We're gonna get Todd Pettengill.
He was doing that primetime podcast, but he hasn't been doing it recently.
Was Sean Mooney ever on In Your House? I don't know if he was in WWE by that time.
No, he had
95.
left in early '93 or something. So
okay, so I guess it wouldn't make sense. I guess Todd Pettengill, is Mr. In Your House from that perspective.
Yeah, that's what people view him as. I just view him as like the guy from Mania. He's more Mania and Livewire for me, but I guess because he gave away the house on the first In Your House. People just... he's like the In Your House guy, but yeah. Todd's my guy.
Yeah. Todd's your guy. Todd Pettengill was at King of the Ring 1997.
Yes, he was.
Which is a Patreon request we're about to dive deep into. But before we dive into it, we got to have our patron for this episode, Chris Johnson, drop in and deliver his thoughts on King of the Ring 1997. Take it away, Chris.
Hey, what's going on, Straight Shooters? It's Chris Johnson, here to give you my thoughts on the King of the Ring from 1997. That was one of the better King of the Rings in the history of the pay-per-view. The opening video package was about a night of first. It was the first time that the tag team champions went one-on-one on pay-per-view with Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels. You also had part of the package talking about Farouk possibly becoming the first black WWF champion in history, and about the King of the Ring tournament itself. Getting to the show, I'm always a fan of, the doors being opened by the two royal guards like you guys are. I think that's a pretty cool touch for the show. First match of the night, Ahmed Johnson versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley in the semifinals of the King of the Ring tournament. These guys actually had a match in the first round of the tournament, and it was not really sure. I don't remember exactly what happened with the match, but they had the rematch in the same tournament in the semis. I was a big fan of Ahmed Johnson as a kid, and I really wanted him to win the tournament. Story of this match to me was pretty much the power of Ahmed Johnson versus the technique of Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Hunter Hearst Helmsley wins the match after hitting a pedigree on Ahmed Johnson after China got involved in the match. I thought it was a pretty decent opener to the show. Second match was the second semifinal for King of the Ring, which was Mankind and Jerry the King Lawler. I thought Mankind got a pretty good pop, and the promo he cut before the match was pretty cool, mixing in a couple of his gimmicks in the promo. Jerry Lawler, as he's known to do throughout his career, was doing the dirty tactics throughout the match with pulling out a foreign object out of his trunks. Mankind won the match with the Mandible Claw. It wasn't a 5-star classic by any means, but I thought it was a really, really good match, and it was better than I remembered watching it. Next match was Crush versus Goldust. Marlena and Goldust got a good reaction from the crowd. The only thing that I really could pick out from this match, I mean, it was a match, Goldust won, but the only thing that I could really pick out for this match was Clarence Mason soliciting Marlena, I guess, for his lawyer services for something. I wasn't really exactly sure what that was all about. Next match of the night was a six-man tag between Legion of Doom, Psycho Sid versus the Hart Foundation, which comprised of Jimmy Anvil Neihart, British Bulldog, and Owen Hart. I was always impressed with the power of the British Bulldog, being able to hold a vertical suplex for a while and whoever he had. Hawk no-selling the pile driver from the British Bulldog I thought was weird. Earl Hebner, as Nick's favorite, he's definitely not the go-to referees. He had some issues trying to keep track of the legal man and try to keep it under control. There was lots of double team offense from the Hart Foundation, and they won the match with Owen trying to perform a sunset flip on Psycho Sid, but he kind of botched it. Sid wouldn't go over. It was an okay match, I thought. Finals from the King of the Ring tournament, you had Mankind and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. I like how Hunter, continued the story of working on the head and neck area of Mankind that was injured during the semifinal match where Lawler pretty much picked up where he left off. Mankind took a lot of sick bumps during the match with his head being stuck between the ropes. The elbow drop he tried to do on Triple H, but he missed. Him getting pedigreed through the table. Getting hit with the scepter by Chyna. And Triple H winning the match with the pedigree. I thought it was a really, really good match. And you kind of seen the start of the being more of a heel, like the DX tendencies he kind of showed during the match. Next match was Tag Champ versus Tag Champ. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels. Moment where Shawn broke character. He'd help with Special Olympian backstage when he got over the guardrail. He fell over the guardrail. One of the things I really liked about the match was Stone Cold mocking HBK's signature pose after hitting him with the reverse elbow. I thought that was pretty funny, pretty cool. I thought it was a really, really good match. A lot of technical stuff back and forth. A couple ref bumps in the match with the stunner on Tim White, then the stunner to HBK, and then Shawn hit Sweet Chin Music on Stone Cold and hit it on Mike Chioda as well. Then, of course, good old Earl Hebner has to come down and screwed up with the wonky finish with the double DQ because the abuse of the refs. I thought it was a really, really good match. The finish was a little strange to me. In the main event, Farouk versus The Undertaker for the WWF title. I thought it was a hard-hitting physical match. Paul Bearer trying to coax The Undertaker to do things because he was holding that secret over his head, basically blackmailing the Undertaker to have him do whatever he wanted. I like the old school that The Undertaker was going to perform on Farouk until he did like a backwards dive onto the Nation to try to take them out. I thought that was cool. Undertaker wins with the tombstone after Farouk was distracted by the infighting between Crush and Savio. After the match, you had, The Undertaker continuing the abuse on Farouk because Paul Bearer told him to. Then Ahmed Johnson came out and tried to get The Undertaker to come to his senses and not listen to Paul Bearer. But instead, Ahmed gave The Undertaker the Pearl River Plunge, and that was the end of the show. I thought it was a really, really good show. One of the better King of the Rings in history. I appreciate you guys allowing me to be on this podcast once again. The best wrestling podcast out right now, The Straight Shooters. If you guys don't know, you need to check them out. You guys be safe out there. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Thanks again, Chris, for joining us on the show. Thanks for the love, as always. We appreciate it.
Damn straight about Earl Hebner, man. Like, what the hell is wrong with that dude?
Man.
Like, he just wants to be in the spotlight. He's like the first referee that wanted to hog the spotlight ever in the history of pro wrestling.
You're literally just turning people against Earl Hebner. I'm pretty sure Chris Johnson didn't even think about Earl Hebner before listening to this podcast on a weekly basis. And now he's a Earl Hebner hater like yourself.
Earl Mooney.
It's shameful, honestly. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Earl Morley.
No. I was saying Earl Hebner hater, but I said like Hebner. I just combined it.
Hebnator.
So,
but
yeah, Hebnator.
He's like trying to be the big guy. Like, you and you, we're both out of here. Like, what? Get out of here, man. You're not an umpire. Like, relax. You're not Joe West, who I also dislike.
Well, a lot of baseball fans dislike Joe West. You're not getting in line for that one.
Yeah.
I haven't watched him enough to know about him, but I've seen his name a lot on Twitter, and people don't like Joe West. I know that much.
It's a very polarizing guy because there are people that love him, and I just don't understand it.
Okay, well, again, I don't know enough. I just see what I see on Twitter, and I haven't seen anybody that say they love the guy. I haven't seen that one time. Seen a lot of dislike for him, in fact.
Yeah, you know what? Earl Hebner is definitely the Joe West of WWE history.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with from now on. He's the Joe West of WWF.
I'll take your word for it, for the Joe West part of it. But thanks again to Chris Johnson. If you want to be like Chris Johnson and join us on the show, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/shootersradio, and you can put in your request. We shall fulfill that request after you pay the nominal fee, of course. You got to pay the fee of $2 a month. Got to pay us the money first, okay? But after you pay us the money, we fulfill the request, and then we allow you to take a couple minutes to give your thoughts on the show. You couldn't get a better deal than that. You get to be a part of the Straight Shooters for an episode. Chris Johnson taking advantage of it multiple times, and you can be just like him. Again, patreon.com/shootersradio. Head over there, put in your request. Doesn't have to be a wrestling event. Doesn't have to be a pay-per-view. It could be, like we've said many times, an episode of a sitcom that a wrestler appeared on or something like that. So King Kong Bundy on, what was it, Married with Children? Hit us up. Vader on Boy Meets World? We'll talk about it.
Mick Foley, too. Mankind on Boy Meets World as well.
Right. Yeah, Bret Hart on The Simpsons? Yeah. Let's do it. We'll do Lonesome Dove if we can find it. I don't know where those episodes of that show exist, but that was a Bret Hart show. We'll do that. Just go head over to patreon.com/shootersradio and we'll take care of it. We got you. We've done movies already. We did No Holds Barred. We've done Beyond the Mat. We've done You Cannot Kill David Arquette. So we'll get back after it. But if you want us to request something specific, again, one last time, patreon.com/shootersradio. Nick, are you ready to dive deep into King of the Ring 1997?
Let's do it.
All right.
Oh, it's live, House.
Tonight will be a night of firsts. For the first time, two reigning tag team champions will put their gold aside to wage war against one another. But this is no ordinary tag team, and these are no ordinary combatants. Both men are looking for respect from an unlikely source, a partner. For the first time, we may see an African-American as WWF champion. But Farouk is not going into battle alone. He has the support of a nation he has manipulated into believing its existence is predicated solely on this victory. A victory that must come at the hands of a vulnerable Undertaker, whose haunting past has forced an unlikely reunion with Paul Bearer. For the first time, one of these men will become King of the Ring, and to the victor will go the spoils. Tonight will be a night of firsts, as Super Soaker presents the 1997 King of the Ring.
Yes, that is the intro for King of the Ring 1997, where they called it a night of firsts. We're going to talk all about that nonsense in a little bit. One particular first is always, stuck in my craw. But we're going to talk about it. King of the Ring 1997 took place on June 8th, 1997, and it emanated from the Providence Civic Center in Providence, Rhode Island. Of course, the Providence Civic Center is now known as the Dunkin' Donuts Center. It is the home of the Providence Friars basketball team. And actually, even though, they don't have an NBA team in Providence, Rhode Island, they have had a couple of NBA games played in the Dunkin' Donuts Center, including our favorite basketball team, the Philadelphia 76ers. How about that?
What?
They played a regular season game at the Providence Civic Center, or the Dunkin' Donuts Center, whatever you want to call it, against the Celtics, because, of course, Rhode Island's in the New England area. Boston Celtics are also in the New England area. Oh. So I guess they're New England's team, just like the New England Patriots. But the Celtics hosted the Sixers at the arena December 30th, 1972. And then the Celtics hosted a preseason game there against the New York Knickerbockers, better known as New York Knicks, of course, on October 9th, 2013. So, I'm sure they did, maybe, I guess, Probably. There's some butts in the seats at King of the Ring 1997. 13,312 to be exact, according to good old Wikipedia. Which I thought was a pretty big crowd for like 1997. Am I tripping about the 13,302?
WWF for pay-per-view.
312?
I mean, yeah, King of the Ring is I guess a staple at that point. But summer, June 8th, 97. That's a pretty good number, I would say, for WWF.
I would say that. Not sure how many of those people were paid customers on this night, but
all of them were the WWE employees. Like when Vince fired everyone in that arena. And he fired us all on TV. Like maybe they were all
that's
employees.
True. He did fire everybody one time, didn't he?
He did.
He's stupid. He's dumb.
He hired us just to fire us.
Right. 13,312. I thought was, again, pretty big crowd for this time period. They'd see stuff like this on a regular basis, like in the next year or two. But 97, that's still pretty good. But 1997 obviously was a very interesting year. A lot happened in WWF and WCW. I mean, it's arguably some people's favorite year in wrestling. When you talk about WWF, at least their main event scene was pretty good, including on this night. WCW's main event scene was really Sting chasing Hulk Hogan for a year. Outside of that, it wasn't great, but you also had the cruiserweights. You had great stuff with, the undercard in WCW was great. The main events were not. And then you had ECW, which was still in really good standing, really good shape, and they were putting on good shows in 1997. So it was a very good year for pro wrestling. But behind the scenes, especially in WWF, were things super duper interesting. Okay? Mm-hmm. Mainly because of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, who weren't even on screen together, I don't think, on this show. But backstage, man, were they beating each other up.
Literally.
and verbally too, on screen actually. Including Shawn Michaels on May 19th cut the whole Sunny Days promo, which resulted in a shoot fight between the two. Bret Hart was like, yo, my marriage is at stake here. My wife didn't like that. And it's weird, in hindsight, because Shawn Michaels is the one who had plenty of Sunny Days. And Bret Hart, as far as we knew, did not. But Shawn Michaels is the one who was running around with Sonny. But Bret Hart was pissed off about it, rightfully so. And he fought Shawn Michaels. Now, I think this happened like a day or two after the show or a day or two before the show. I want to say it happened after the show because I believe
either the next Raw or the Raw after. So
I think it was the next night.
The next night or a week after. So, it was definitely in June. I know that.
Right, I think it was the next night. So this is June 8th. Raw would have happened June 9th. I think it happened then because Shawn Michaels eventually would leave for a little bit because he deemed it an unsafe working environment and forcing him and Steve Austin to vacate the tag team titles.
They both were not on the show because that happened like before Raw started, and they were not on the show. So, they both went home pretty much.
Right.
Crazy to think about that, Vince had to do that. And really like a prime spot for like his top two guys. Obviously Austin's getting there too, but in the height of the ratings war, just be like, you guys aren't going to be on TV. It's kind of crazy to think about in hindsight.
It is, but things had to cool down, man. Mm-hmm. The tension was that thick between Bret Hart and his homies and Shawn Michaels and his homies, which is really, I guess, just Triple H at that point, right? Yeah. In China, I guess that was it. I don't know how many other friends he had in the promotion. Close friends. Like, Nash and Hall and Kidd were all gone. So I'm sure Shawn Michaels had other people he liked. I guess including Sonny. We'll include Sonny in that as well. But, yeah, how many other homies did he have, really, at that point? Because, the consensus is that he was an asshole. People didn't like him. So, you have that as your reputation. You're probably not going to have too many friends. But like I mentioned earlier, there's also where, as King of the Ring was promoted around a night of firsts. And, of course, the main event is for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. It is The Undertaker defending against Farouk. And Farouk's, I guess, I'm pretty sure this is his first title match. Maybe his only one-on-one title match. He might have had another one in 97. I do not recall. Either way, Farouk had a chance to become the very first African-American WWF, or now WWE, champion. He was already the first African American world heavyweight champion in WCW 5 years prior, of course. 1992, he's the first recognized black world champion. But that to this point, there had never been a even half black WWE champion or WWF champion back then. And we talked about this before, especially when Bobby Lashley won the title from The Miz earlier this year. And I think he's only the third black man to win the WWE Championship. The Rock being the first, Kofi Kingston, I believe, being the second. I don't think I'm missing anybody as far as that, right?
No, if we're talking, WWE champion.
Just WWE champions. Because there have been more than that as far as world heavyweight champions or WCW champions. We talk about Booker T, Mark Henry. Hell, you can go to Ron Killings, R-Truth, who won the NWA title and TNA. Bobby Lashley won a TNA title at some point. Moose has been an Impact World Champion. So there have been in other promotions, there have been black world champions. But WWE, to this point, have only had 3. Even though Booker T and Mark Henry are former world champions and they're both Hall of Famers, they never held the WWE Championship, only the World Heavyweight Championship. And I got to thinking again about the fact that that's a wild thing, considering that, like, if this is a meritocracy, there would have been multiple black champions, more than likely. But it's not a meritocracy. The champions, again, are not, the championships aren't earned, they are chosen. You're chosen to be a champion. And to this point, 34 years, I think the first WWE champion was crowned in 1963. So to 1997, that would be 34 years. None of those men were black who were chosen to be champion, which is wild. Right, I agree, Ron Simmons / Farouk. Damn. Because by this point, there had already been 13 black undisputed heavyweight champions in boxing, starting with Joe Louis in 1937. But he wasn't even the first black world champion, because Jack Johnson was the first black world heavyweight champion in boxing. He won that title in 1908. Okay? We're talking about 90 years prior to 1997. All right? Just so it happened, the first world heavyweight champion in wrestling that I think has been recognized was crowned in 1905, George Hackenschmidt. And the first recognized world champion in wrestling, period, wasn't crowned until 87 years later, when Ron Simmons won the title. What the hell? Pro wrestling. But also specifically WWE. I mean, look, I understand they've put the world title on black people. They have done that. But the WWE Championship, for whatever reason, has eluded black people. Don't know why.
That's the face of the company championship.
Right. That's the WWE Championship. Now, honestly, I think you can... there are times I think they put the Universal title above that, depending on who has it, I think. Like Roman Reigns, I think, would be like their main guy right now.
Yeah, I agree.
And he would be main eventing the big shows, the big pay-per-views.
In a way, they both feel more important than they had, like when they had, 2 champions. This is about as strong as the 2 champions they've ever had.
I agree with that.
And which is crazy considering the ratings are terrible and the program's terrible, but the champions are great.
Between them two and even the women's champions, Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, great champions. Hell, you go to NXT, I mean, Karrion Kross isn't necessarily my favorite, but he's a strong champion. Like, they don't make him look weak at all. And you got Walters, the NXT UK champion. Like, they got some badasses as champions right now. But it goes beyond who's a champion. That's not the reason why the ratings are down. It's because the product overall is bad pretty much across the board. That's no one person's fault. Well, if it is, it's Vince McMahon. That's the one person. None of the wrestlers, it's not their fault necessarily. Unless they're not properly executing Vince McMahon's vision, which we still got to question Vince McMahon's vision on what he's presenting. But yeah, I think it's super interesting to think about that. Like, it took decades and decades for a black man to be officially recognized as the World Heavyweight Champion. Because I think there might have been some reigns that weren't officially recognized, but the first recognized one, and the one that everybody points to as the official first black champion, happened in 1992. Whereas in boxing, I'm not sure when, the Queen's rules of boxing started. I'm not exactly sure about that, but not long into the 20th century do we have a black champion. Yeah. It didn't take 92 years into the 20th century to get a black world champion in boxing. No. We had plenty by that point. I think by the time 1992 came around, I'm pretty sure the champion was black. I think it was either Riddick Bowe or Vandy Holyfield, because I'm pretty sure Tyson was in jail by that point. So, yeah. Wrestling still got a lot of catching up to do. And we got a couple black champions right now. We got, like I said, Bobby Lashley. We got Bianca Belair. We've had Sasha Banks. We had Kofi Kingston a couple years ago. But let's keep that going.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be another couple years before that happens. That should be a thing that's consistently a thing, that black people are at the top of the card and holding the top titles.
I mean, in a way, it was crazy. I remember when Bobby Lashley finally won the title, and it's almost like, finally, like he should have done it his first go-around with the WWE. And, like, his first world title shouldn't have been in TNA. It's just kind of ridiculous how that happened. But, now that they finally put the title on him, I think he's been one of the best parts of Monday Night Raw. So
I would agree.
Like you said, they got to keep it going, and it's just most sit here and after 20 plus years of being a fan, really actually 30 plus years of me being a fan, and now just seeing how the product's been the last few years, not even comparable to what I grew up with, and even earlier this decade, even in 2010, you just hope that they stick with it and they're not just gonna do something stupid, I guess I should say. Like, I keep them strong and have like a reason, like the story and all that. It's just, I'm just afraid that it's too good almost, because you can only go down from here when it comes to WWE. And let's see what AEW does, because they
see. We haven't had any black people hold their titles yet, right? I don't think. I don't think any of their titles have been held by black people yet.
I don't think the tag titles, which you would think like Pride and Powerful and or Private Party, like what's going on there? Like,
now,
why?
Let me be fair here. I'm gonna suggest this for all people of color in general too. That goes for Latin people, Asian people, whatever. Black and brown people should be more featured at the top of these cards. It also goes for people on the gender spectrum, wherever they lie on the gender spectrum, and sexual orientations. So all of that. So if a Sunny Kiss is worthy of being a world champion or a TNT champion, he should get that opportunity. Same, Nyla Rose has been the world champion in AEW, so kudos to them for that. And they've had Asian women's champions, right? But WWE, who've had Asian women's champions, I don't think they've had an Asian world champion, though. Unless you count, I guess you count Great Khali as an Asian because he's from India. He's Indian, though. But that's in the continent of Asia, technically. But yeah, it's interesting. That's something that should be more. The title should be going to more than just white people.
There's no other way to say
white,
it.
Right, white cis males and white cis females. Like, we open it up to anyone who is worthy, who is talented enough, and who is a draw. Obviously, you want to base it off of who's making money, who's selling tickets, stuff like that. I think if you put people in the proper position, they can sell tickets too. All these people could try to
it's all
sell
about
tickets.
The marketing behind it. The company really owns that, so you could tell if they want to have someone be the face of their company based on the promotion. And it almost seems like it's always been the white males or females getting more promotion than everyone else. So, you need to have the equal promotion and see, honestly, if they draw money now with fans coming back. Hopefully they keep the titles on, Lashley and Roman to see, can they draw money? But it's all about how they're presented. And how with WWE, everything's scripted to a T. So, it's really on them. It's almost like I feel like Lashley can't. I mean, hopefully he has a voice to about his character and MVP too. But It's always going to be Vince's decision, and let's see if the marketing and promotional tool is really behind them.
Yeah. So.
Sixers up by 14 after one.
Ooh, all right, don't tell me no more. I don't want to get excited. You see how excited I got just that fast? I was like, I turned to Ric Flair, like, whoa!
They were just about to go to a commercial, so I had to slip it in before I forgot the score.
All right, just don't. All right, take it easy. All right, take it easy. All right. So back to King of the Ring, 1997. Yeah, we had to have that discussion though again because this is wild stuff, and it's still happening. But we're gonna keep talking about it too. Keep reminding people of these facts. But the presenting sponsor of King of the Ring 1997, Super Soaker. I don't think I've ever seen that from WWF or any other wrestling promotion. Super Soaker, which is one of the dopest toys of all time, right? Super Soaker?
Yeah, and they were all over their product, too. I remember, I think Sonny was even playing with it, and I'm sure Jerry Lawler was, and maybe he was like squirting Sonny, or maybe it was like a commercial or something, but I definitely remember Super Soaker being like a huge part of my childhood, and the fact I was seeing it on WWF TV, I was like, yes, like this is amazing. Because I went around and I had like friends, and we all had Super Soakers, so it was great.
It's still a big part of like culture in general. Like when you're kids, you're playing with it in your yard and whatnot.
Yeah,
soaking people up. It's a great toy. And then even as adults, like people still when they go to beach parties or whatever, you see college kids running around with Super Soakers and slip and slides too, for that matter, all the time. But like they got like, and it's just a versatile toy. You can make it based off a franchise. Like my friend. My friend's mom has a pool in her backyard. She invites me and Gabby over, and my girlfriend over. We go hang out in the pool and stuff like that. And they bought my daughter Fortnite Super Soakers. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we are in the 21st century. We got Fortnite Super Soakers, and they got these big old like Gatling type gun, like that's like you can like crank it up and stuff like that. It's crazy, but it's still great. So, Super Soaker, very versatile toy, still great toy. And next time I'm in the pool, which probably won't happen in Cancun, I'm not bringing a Super Soaker to Cancun, but next time I'm in my friend's mom's pool at my friend's mom's house, I'll be spraying people down with water again with the Super Soaker. So always a great toy. Big pyro display to start the show, and then we got Vince McMahon yelling his way through yet another introduction. But this time he's alongside Jim Ross only, not Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler is wrestling. He is in the King of the Ring semifinals. We'll get to that in a second. But our first match is a King of the Ring semifinal. Not Jerry Lawler's match, though. It is Ahmed Johnson going up against Hunter Hearst Helmsley, who's come a long way from 1996. Because as we mentioned last week, that man was firmly in the doghouse after the curtain call. He wasn't even on the show. He was in a dark match, and he beat the only other person that he was able to beat on the roster, and that was Aldo Montoya in the dark match. But on this night, he is in the semifinals. He was on the show and in the semifinals, and these two actually faced each other in the first round apparently. And Ahmed Johnson won by disqualification, but due to a quote-unquote officiating technicality, Triple H was put back in the tournament and beat Crush to get to the semifinals. Do you recall this officiating technicality?
I don't. I've told myself I was going to go watch it back, but I just didn't. But I did read that apparently Vader was injured, so he was going to be like the one moving on or be in the tournament. So Triple H just took Vader's spot again after he was eliminated. So really, it begs the question: was Triple H always going to win King of the Ring '97? I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. I think it was a decision made like, well, out of Mankind, Jerry Lawler, and Ahmed Johnson, you would probably pick either Ahmed or Mankind. And with the way they were having those Mankind sit-down interviews with Jim Ross, it made sense to me at the time as a fan that Mankind was going to win the King of the Ring. It was, going from like Austin, who was a heel the year before, and then Mabel was the heel the year before, and Owen Hart was the heel the year before. I was like, it'd be nice to have a good guy win the King of the Ring, because I remember, thinking back to the previous three. So I was kind of convinced Mankind was going to win. And I wonder if they were convinced too until they just decided to go with the Triple H so they could have a feud with Mankind. Maybe Mankind would get more over feuding with the King of the Ring, which he kind of did at that time.
Yes,
with their trilogy of matches. So, I'm not convinced that Triple H was always the option to win King of the Ring 97 until they just kind of put him back in after Vader got hurt. But I do not remember the officiating technicality or how they explained it.
Yeah, that's what they said on his show. The officiating technicality.
Maybe his shoulder was up or he was on the ropes. I don't remember.
JR at one point in the match, for one, JR had a lot of little factoids on this show. He was going overboard, honestly, with a lot of it. Like who this person was trained by.
Yep.
He had everybody. This person was trained by Jose Lothario. This person was trained by Skandar Akbar. It's like, all right, now I see where WCW got the material from when they did the Oklahoma character. Because this is literally what they were mocking him for. Now that was trash what they did, but I see where they got the material from. Because Jim Ross had all the little factoids where everybody was trained or who trained them. But one factoid stuck out, and that during this match, Jim Ross said Ahmed Johnson obviously was not rich. I mean, Triple H's character was that he was rich. He was a blue blood. He was American royalty, so to speak. And he's like, Ahmed Johnson, he grew up on the other side of the tracks. And instead of joining this, he joined the gang. He joined the Bloods. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I never knew Ahmed Johnson was a Blood. If that's true, I would hope nobody would lie about that. Because that's not something you want to lie about. Because you will get G-checked in these streets. So I would imagine that is true. And they would also explain why Ahmed Johnson always wore red, okay, in his gear. We never saw him in blue. I'm just going to say that. But I never knew that. I never knew that Ahmed Johnson was, at least according to Jim Ross, a Blood. So,
I mean, okay. He kind of changed it when he joined the Nation, but that was, for 2 weeks?
Right. But he didn't wear blue, though, did he?
No.
He did not do that. He had everything was red. All the elbow pads and the thighs, red.
The 15 knee pads, yep, everything.
Right. Red. Okay, that explains a lot. Okay, right. But this finish of this match was kind of abrupt, in my opinion. Ahmed Johnson's whooping all kinds of ass, and then hit the Pearl River Plunge. So you're like, okay, it's about to be over. But then Chyna hopped up on the apron to distract him. Ahmed Johnson was easily distracted and talking to her. And that allowed Triple H to come in from behind him and hit him with a running knee to his back. He then just hit the pedigree and won. It's like, oh, all right, well, I guess Ahmed Johnson's not winning. The King of the Ring, then.
Yeah, I mean, he got a good pop, too. I mean, it wasn't like he was floundering or anything, but I guess they obviously will see they had plans for him later down the road. But, it just made him look stupid because Chyna was already down on the mat and he's like staring at her, putting himself in position, like not even looking at her. And it was just weird. He's just waiting for Triple H to nail him. And I hate those kind of finishes. I'm like, man, it's like at least make it look believable to me. Like even it just made him look stupid.
It wasn't great.
They didn't need to do that. They could have just had him, the referee trying to get Chyna down off the apron, Ahmed confront her, and then have Triple H low blow him, and then do the pedigree. That is a better ending than what we saw.
Yeah, this was kind of. It just didn't feel like very climactic. It just came.
Especially what you said, he was dominated. Like Ahmed was dominating the match pretty much, and then it's like, oh, Triple H just wins like that. Sucked.
Okay. So Triple H advances, or Hunter Hearst Helmsley advances, I should say, to the King of the Ring finals. He will meet the winner of the other semifinal, Mankind versus Jerry the King Lawler. First thing I noticed is that I always liked that Mankind didn't know how to react to people cheering him. And that WWE just kind of let it play out organically. They heard people cheering him. And maybe it was their intention. Maybe they wanted to get people on his side. Maybe that was the plan all along. Which, okay, fine, but they didn't go overboard with making him do babyface things. He just kind of, people started cheering him, and they was like, yeah, people like him. He doesn't know how to react to it. And I feel like if that happened today, they would fight against it. Like, Mankind's supposed to be a heel, damn it. Yeah, right? He would keep doing heel things, i.e. Rusev Day. Rusev Day was super popular in 2016, 2017, whatever it was. The dude was over, and they just like, but you're a heel. And that was it. And they're like, well, okay. And he's a good heel. Don't get me wrong. Look at him in AEW. He's a great heel. But I think WWE definitely had something with Rusev because he's very charismatic, and I think he likes getting cheered. I mean, he likes doing a heel stuff, but I think he likes being admired by the people. And he's a funny guy. He can work as a babyface, but WWE was just like, nope, heel. But it's 97. It's just like, hey, whatever. You're a babyface now. You ran your course as a heel, and let Mankind embrace it, which I thought it was good.
It was, like you said, organic. It was real. It felt real. It literally made sense to me. What is it? It was June 97. So I'm, I didn't tell you where I was at during this time, but I was not 12 yet. So I was 11, and it made sense to me. Like, it's weird that they're cheering him, but the announcers played it off like, he's getting a relatively positive reception. His popularity seems to be growing, and it was because his realistic interviews with Jim Ross, where you knew there was a human in there, that there's reasons why he came into the WWF like that, and that all made sense to me. Even as an 11-year-old, I'm like, I always needed like a reason why somebody was acting a certain way, and as long as I got that reason, that was enough for me, especially in wrestling. So, yeah, of course, I was like, started to like Mankind too. It was like, just don't hurt the Undertaker again, man. But and then the fact that he was showing weakness because Paul Bearer kind of abandoned him to go with the Undertaker and with this big secret, so they were playing off that too. Like, Mankind was lonely and stuff. Like, you can relate to that as a person. So, I liked that they were so like kind of real about it and just let it play out organically the way they did.
I'm mad at myself that I forgot to ask you where you were in life in June of 1997. Because I can tell you I was I can't do math all of a sudden. I was 8 and hanging out in Southwest Philly. I moved to Southwest Philly the year before, and I'm firmly in Southwest Philly by this point. Finishing up, I guess, what would have been 2nd grade, I guess. But, yeah, that's where I was in June of 1997.
I think I was still in school because this was June 8th that I hated the fact that they had, like, the pay-per-views the first week now in 97. They put it like, instead of towards the end of the month, it was in the beginning of the month, and I absolutely hated that. So I was at the very end of my 6th grade year, and little did I know I would be heading into the best summer of my wrestling fan life, because I would stay up and watch. I was able to stay up and watch Raw late or Nitro late. Nitro had the replay right after, so I was able to tape Lex Luger's title win, because I wasn't taping them. I was just like, oh, Lex Luger's not going to win. But then he did it, and I'm like, oh my God, where's the blank tape? Like, I have to tape the replay. So they had the replay after that, and it was just like a great summer to just watch wrestling on Monday nights for me. And I wasn't working. Obviously, I'm 11 years old, but I stayed home alone when my parents went to work, and I just watched wrestling pretty much I watched wrestling tapes and couldn't wait for Monday night. I don't know if I had the internet yet. So if I wasn't watching the internet, I would probably do like just watch whatever my sister was watching on TV and just wait for like Monday Night Wrestling or something, or watch old tapes when my sister didn't have the TV. So it was like a great summer for me, just watching wrestling. And this was my favorite year of wrestling. And little did I know how great it would be, like WWF in the summer 97, WCW in the summer 97, even ECW I was watching at that point. So I was having the time of my life as a wrestling fan.
Right. Like I said, it's a great year for wrestling if you were really watching wrestling week to week. Because there was great stuff happening on all 3 promotions. All 3 of the American promotions, I should say. Can't speak for what was happening in Mexico and Japan at the time. But back to Mankind, though. It just goes to show that authenticity works. It always works. Mm-hmm. When you reveal the authentic person for who they are, even though Mankind was still a character, but they revealed Mick Foley's real backstory. And guess what? He started to endear himself to people. Mick Foley has a cool backstory anyway. He seems like a really nice guy and the whole thing. But they did the same thing. We'll talk about it a little bit with Goldust too. Mm-hmm. Talk about his family, talk about his wife and all that stuff, and mentioning the fact that he's the son of Dusty Rhodes. He is getting over a little bit as a babyface, I should say. So authenticity works, and we just need to get back to that in WWE, at least specifically. Yeah. One thing I noticed was right up top, though, Mankind's hair. What the hell happened to Mankind's hair? Like,
it's probably just like finding random spots and clipping it and buzzing it or shaving it. It was great. They played off the fact that he pulled the hair out of his head.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for the character. I just didn't know it's a specific reason behind that. And you
I
mentioned
remember
earlier
being confused when he came back as Mankind or the Cactus Jack, and like we didn't see those bald spots. I was like, wait a second, like I didn't realize they weren't really bald spots.
Yeah, but you talked about Paul Bearer abandoning him. He wondered where Uncle Paul had gone.
Yeah.
I thought he was talking about Paul Heyman for a second though, and I watched it. I was like, Paul, because it says '97. ECW was a thing, they had Barely Legal was a couple months prior. So I'm like, talking about Paul Heyman? Oh no, Paul Bearer, of course, Paul Bearer. Mankind had a promo. This is part of his promo before the match, and he ended the promo with "Bang Bang" because, of course, he was going to become eventually Cactus Jack at WWF. But they talked about the fact again, Jim Ross during this match, that he was Cactus Jack once upon a time. He wasn't always Mankind, which is like, okay, we were pulling back all the curtains now. So this was not usual for pro wrestling in 1997. This was WWF had definitely taken a turn to where they were acknowledging people's past, at least Jim Ross was specifically, and past not just in their lives, because that was not a usual thing too. That was unusual, but also their past in wrestling, where he played somebody else before. It's like, huh? That wasn't a thing. They didn't talk about Hulk Hogan being somebody else in the AWA. There was no such thing as somebody else. They didn't say Ultimate Warrior was the Blade Runner, whatever in World Class or whatever, the Dingo Warrior. They didn't talk about that. He was just the Ultimate Warrior. That's who he always was. So it's just interesting. Interesting turn there.
It was different than the other channel. WCW, as hot as they were, and as great as a lot of their stories were and matches, they weren't really in depth like this, where this grabbed my attention. It's one of the things that I would watch on the weekend shows just to see if I missed anything. Like really pay attention to these interviews, because I think they did 4 weeks in a row of maybe 3 or 4 weeks
something
in a row.
Like that. Yeah,
so
multiple weeks.
It's like it's a big deal, and they're trying to tell you something. And WCW, like I said, as good as they weren't doing the same thing. So this was different. WWF was doing something different, and even though the ratings might not have told you they were better, I mean they weren't, but this particular thing, and the same thing with Goldust, they were just great things as a fan that I really enjoyed even back then.
Yeah, it was good stuff. It was very good stuff. What else is good stuff was Jerry Lawler's promo that he was cutting on his way to the ring again. He did it last year at King of the Ring, and he did it again at King of the Ring in 1997.
You better be happy, McMahon, that Mankind is here. You better hope nothing ever happens to him, because if he dies, then you're going to be the ugliest man on earth.
My God.
That's my favorite.
Not quite as funny as the that's your head or your neck throw up joke. That was a wild joke, but that's
I mean, there was a lot of things to pick on Milwaukee about, but he was relatively tame in this one, but I enjoyed that quip.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Jerry Lawler just riffing on the square, I guess, ripping on everybody on his way to the ring. He just did it all the time, apparently. But as far as the actual match itself, Mick Foley took some crazy bumps.
Yeah, to Lawler, too. It's like, what? Get out of here.
Diving headfirst into the steel steps looked bad. I don't know if it actually hurt, but it looked bad. And then they did the table. Didn't they do something on the table at some point? That was in Triple H's match. I take that back. That wasn't this particular match. But this match had lasted a lot longer than I expected.
It really did. It definitely a lot longer than Triple H and Ahmed Johnson.
Right. That was such a short, abrupt kind of match. This one was really long. I did not expect that from Mankind and Jerry Lawler. I honestly lost interest at a certain point. I was just like, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
The finish, go ahead.
I did find interesting, Lawler was more vicious than we really see him in his WWF matches, and it's because he's going against, Mick Foley and stuff like that. But, he was biting the ear, that, Mankind didn't have and stuff like that, and stuff like that. And we were just 2 months away from seeing Jerry Lawler against Tommy Dreamer at an ECW pay-per-view, so maybe he was trying to get some extreme stuff going on during his matches, so he would feel comfortable against Tommy Dreamer. But yeah, he would face Tommy Dreamer at Hardcore Heaven 2 months after this, and for ECW's pay-per-views. So yeah, and I found it weird, in the Triple H match, the bumps he would take, and I was like, man, like everybody looked badass kind of facing him because of the bumps he would take. I'd be like, wow, Lawler is like crazy, like maybe he's better than I thought, or something like that.
It's no accident that when The Rock was the champion, who did they put him up against to bring out his vicious side? Mick Foley, right? When he first became champion in '98. Then next 2 years later, when it's Triple H's turn to get his vicious side out, who do they put him up against? Mick Foley. So, that was it's kind of a detriment almost that he could take an ass whooping and look really good at taking an ass whooping, because it took a physical toll on his body, obviously. But it got him some big matches. It got him a main event spots. He won the title multiple times. But he had a very important position of getting certain guys over. Like you said, it helped with Triple H in '97. It also helped with Triple H in 2000. It helped with The Rock in '98 and '99. So, it helped Edge in 2006.
Yeah.
It helped Randy Orton in 2004.
Yeah, I think Orton needed it more than Edge at that point, but
I'd agree with that.
Like, it was still great, and I think it still helped Edge's legend. I think, even though I particularly don't think he needed that, but because I think it was just because I didn't want Mick to keep taking those bumps. Because at that point, I knew I didn't want to see that anymore because I felt bad for him. Like, it's clear. I even think his DVD came out by that point. So, like, we'd seen the documentary about his body breaking down and stuff like that. Royal Rumble '99. Like, I've seen Beyond the Mat by then. But yeah, like the Randy Orton stuff I thought was fantastic. And obviously that Edge match was great. So it did, even though I didn't think it needed to, it helped them gigantically.
Right. The finish of this match came when there was almost like a sort of a sunset flip kind of spot with Jerry Lawler. He tried to get Mankind down for the pin attempt, but Mankind just fell, hit him with the mandible claw, and won the match and advanced to the finals of the King of the Ring to go up against Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Moving on, we have a promo from the loose cannon Brian Pillman. He felt like he was responsible for driving a wedge between Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin. Of course, Steve Austin and Brian Pillman had this rivalry going, and he drove the wedge, so he felt happy about that, but he wasn't happy when Steve Austin snuck up from behind him, very easily, I might add.
Like, was he not in the Hart Foundation locker room? Like, what was going on there?
I don't know. He was somewhere where there was a bathroom, because Steve Austin whooping his ass and then dragged him into a bathroom and stuffed his head in the toilet, which just so happened to be a camera in, by the way, which is like, all right, WWF. You don't have cameras in bathroom stalls. That's illegal. That's an invasion of privacy.
Something that I didn't even know, but I enjoyed the angle. I thought it was hilarious. So.
Right, we couldn't get the cameraman, just put the camera above the stall. That's something that wasn't something that could be rehearsed, I guess. I don't know. But what we did see from that shot inside the stall was Steve Austin give this man a swirly, which is like a classic high school bully move. Like, and it's a shame. Bullies suck, by the way. But
yes,
swirlies are just kind of funny. I don't know why. He gave this man a swirly. He's a grown man giving each other a swirly. So,
yeah,
that was a thing.
But it was great, the angle, and you see Austin come in, and then he bends down, but then he comes back up and says, whatever Pillman says, he says, "You damn right." He mouths the words, "You damn right," and then he attacks him. Like, that was great. It was great. All of that was great.
Yeah, Steve Austin was on a roll.
This was
in 1997.
The match I alluded to, I think, last week, where they would have a match the next night on Raw. So, I mean, it was clearly not like a real match because Pillman really couldn't wrestle. So they hid that, and yeah, this was supposed to be, I guess, the King of the Ring match. So kind of worked out that way. But
he looked in better shape here. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, things would, go from bad to worse in October when he passed away, but he didn't look to be in bad shape here. I guess he was masking it very, very well. So, who knows? But moving on from that, we have Crush versus Goldust. So yeah, that's the thing that happened on this pay-per-view.
It did.
Crush came out with the entire Nation of Domination, which I did like. I almost liked the fact that they were out there in suits with the kente cloths and stuff like that. Like, it just, I don't know, as a black person, it's like, that looks awesome. But then they were like villains. So it's like, they don't have to be bad guys. Like, but it just looked cool to see a bunch of guys who, were black and strong looking out there. I mean, obviously they were modeling the nation after the Nation of Islam. They didn't call it Nation of Islam, Nation of Domination. Which is its own sect, I guess, of Islam. Who's, one of the leaders is Louis Farrakhan. Some people are familiar with. But yeah, the men wear a lot of suits in the Nation of Islam. So this is kind of playing off of that, but not exactly, because they didn't really mention religion at all. The Nation of Domination. So
yeah, this is why, if I get real a little bit, this is why I listen. I listen to black people. I listen to Black Lives Matter. Like, you just got to listen, because as a kid, this just perpetuated that stereotype of angry black man, like angry black man. And as a kid, I was just like, wow, like, you don't know. Because, my parents were never like racist or anything, but, stuff I see in school, things I hear from my friends, like, it just perpetuates the stereotypes. And this is what I believe that did for me as a kid, where I'm just looking at it, I'm like, why are they so angry? They're planting that seed in my head that all black men are angry. And I'm glad that, I was able to grow up and just see black people for what they are, like human, and listen to them and their stories of what they have to go through. It's like, just watching this back just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, because I remember what I was thinking back then. Like, why are black people so angry? Like, why do they have to be so angry? Like, slavery's over. Like, no, that's absolutely not the case. And, I just didn't like obviously Vince saying later on, Farouk's playing the race card. Like, that type of stuff just does not hold up well at all. And
anybody who says you're playing the race card is probably racist.
Yeah, right?
Nobody plays the race card, bro.
Like, I watched this back and I'm like, wow, they really perpetuated that stereotype. And there was probably a lot of fans watching that were like, wow, why are they so angry? Why do they have to be so angry? And that's, like, I could see myself saying that. Like, I wasn't, racist, but I could see myself being like, man, I wish, they weren't so angry. Like, I remember in my head thinking that. And it was just clearly Vince doing whatever the hell he was doing.
I always find that funny. Play the race card like it's a card in a hand, like I'm playing a life. Like, no, these are experiences that people, live through.
Right.
This ain't like I'm trying to win a game here, and like, well, hey, here's the race card. What you gonna do now? Like, no, this ain't poker, bro. Like, this is my life that I've lived through. So if I say something that happened to me, or happened to somebody else, or happened in the past was racist, then that's just it. It's not like a card I'm playing to win something. It's not. I don't gain anything, nor does anybody else gain anything from experiencing and living through racism. That's not something. That's not a badge of honor. That's traumatizing, actually. So that always grinds my gears. Oh, here comes the race card. It's like, bro, I'm not. This ain't poker. I'm not playing a hand, bro. Like, it's fine. Like, just acknowledge the fact that something is racist, and that's it.
Exactly. And
don't tell me it's not.
And listen. Like, if you're a white person out there, just listen to people who don't look like you, because, that's... I've been doing it, and really it brings you a lot of perspective as a person. Like, you wouldn't believe the amount of thinking that I've done just by listening to people that don't look like me, and seeing, through their lens and their experiences. And it's just, I'm thankful I was brought up the way I was to have that empathy, because I just don't know why it's so difficult for some people. And it's really frustrating when I see that play out, where especially I have, obviously cousins that just see the world through their own eyes. They don't listen to people that don't look like them, and it's frustrating.
Right. Awkward transition alert. Did Goldust cop a feel Marlena before this match when he was taking off his robe and stuff?
Probably, but I missed that.
Did you miss that? Oh, I saw it. I was like, what? Oh, you copped a feel. It's his wife though, so I guess it's fine. I don't know.
Right? Yeah. I mean,
But it was just a strange.
hopefully she was okay with it. But
right. You
I
would
mean, they
think,
made out basically in the ring after. So
right. But yeah, Goldust is a babyface now, like I said earlier. And JR said that, fans have grown to respect him and his motivations. And, I guess they know that he's not gay, so now they can respect him. And it's like, what?
another thing, like, he's not gay, so it's okay. Like, it's okay to cheer him.
Right.
Like, what?
He has a wife and kids, so, like him now. Okay.
Another thing
So-
where, they're perpetuating a stereotype to where I'm like, oh, he was just doing the gay stuff to get in the minds of his opponents to throw him off track and stuff. Like, that's not okay. Like, and the stories they're telling me as a young wrestling fan, it's just mind-blowing at times.
Right. I mean, again, that's part of the world we were living in back in 1997. Same thing with the nation domination, Things have changed slightly, but not a whole lot, unfortunately. But another one of JR's factoids on this night was that Marlena was a makeup artist and did makeup for Larry King. And I was like, well, I didn't know that at all. But yeah, she did.
Oh.
And the funny thing was that JR was surprised that Larry King didn't try to marry her, which is, that's honestly like a surprise, because if you know anything about Larry King, is that he got married a lot. Actually, he had 8 marriages to 7 different women. Okay? He married one of those women twice. So, the crazy thing is, despite having 8 marriages to 7 different women, he only had 5 kids. You would have thought he would have had like 1 with each, maybe. Wow. Oh, only 5. But of course, Larry King, he's a legendary figure on TV, CNN and stuff like that. But he died earlier this year at the age of 87. So, yeah, 1 marriage for every decade of his life. Congratulations. Rest in peace to Larry King.
Was that when she was with the WCW, or before her WCW? Because he would have been with CNN, and they were based in Atlanta. That's interesting.
I was just ready to say she was, Terry Reynolds, of course, her maiden name is Boatwright, Terry Boatwright. She did makeup for Larry King and CNN from 85 to 91, but on weekends, of course, CNN is based out of Atlanta, but on weekends she also did makeup for, Jim Crockett Promotions, which eventually turned into World Championship Wrestling, and that was her end to wrestling.
How about that?
So, I never really noticed, like, her makeup was always like really good. I'm not by the way, I'm not like a makeup connoisseur, but I think I can know a good face when I see one. I think I got sort of an eye for that. I'm not a connoisseur. It's funny. I did watch a makeup show, like a makeup contest show on Netflix. Like, man, it was a while ago now, I think, and I actually enjoyed it. I liked it. I just like watching dope art. That's just me. But it's like people doing like crazy stuff with the makeup. Though. Not like just basic faces. I'm talking like, painting whole bodies and stuff like that, and different designs and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. I forget the name of it at the top of my head, but it was pretty cool. Gotcha. But back to this match in 1997. Really, the finish came when Clarence Mason and D'Lo Brown, they kind of strolled on over to Marlena and started talking to her. Clarence Mason trying to hand her a card or something. Oh, don't take it easy. I'm trying to hand you a card. I don't know what he's trying to recruit her for, but that made Goldust step out of the ring. He slapped the holy hell out of D'Lo Brown. Pow! Slapped the taste out of his mouth. Right? Crush came outside to attack Goldust. They got back in the ring, and out of nowhere, Goldust hit a DDT and won the match.
He did.
There you go.
A DDT.
A DDT. Not the curtain call, a DDT. Wasn't this move called the curtain call, right?
Halftime, 22-point lead.
Okay.
For the good guys.
For the good guys.
But,
wasn't Goldust finish
yes.
called the curtain call, right?
Curtain
okay.
call, yep.
Making sure I'm not tripping.
Which is hilarious because I knew they obviously called it the curtain call when he debuted in 95. And then when they were talking about the curtain call at MSG, I was like, what? Goldust's finishing move?
Right.
They named it after Goldust's finishing move? I had no idea what the hell a curtain call was.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, we head backstage to Sid and the Legion of Doom.
Thanks a lot, guys. Tonight your opponents, the Hart Foundation, are...
Did I want me to play yet?
I wasn't done yet.
Okay. I'm marking.
They said we're cutting backstage for an interview with Sid and the Legion of Doom, which, you could expect features a lot of yelling.
Thanks a lot, guys. You know, tonight your opponents, the Hart Foundation, are a very close-knit unit, and the best I know, this is the first time ever the three of you have ever been in a tag team together, but I would imagine there's a lot of revenge factor for the Hart Foundation as far as the Legion of Doom is concerned.
Well, revenge is a dish best served cold. And
Good
my
Lord.
diddly-do squat, we're serving the coldest dish in town. You know, you talk about a tight-knit unit. Every fan in the World Wrestling Federation knows there's not a tighter tag team than the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. The one you gotta worry about is you. Are you gonna be there for a tag? Listen, you don't worry about me, because when it comes to me, brother,
Jesus.
I am the man and the ruler of the world. And I don't have
They're just
to worry
talking to
about
each other
the
like this.
Foundation, 'cause
They're literally
Inside
next to each
voices,
other.
please.
They are next to each other.
Right.
It's gonna be the worst night for the Hart Foundation.
This is better.
Again, they're right next to each other, just screaming in each other's faces. Inside voices, gentlemen, please. Please. This is like straight out of the 80s. Like, or early 90s. But that was Legion of Doom. They yelled. And then Sid, he called himself the man and the ruler of the universe or whatever, the ruler of the world. That was
Like,
that
you
was
don't
his bread
worry
and
about
butter.
me because I am the man. Like, oh, okay. Like, whatever.
All right, okay. And the ruler of the world. Okay, that means nothing to what we're about to do, but all right. Okay. But continue, Nick. I'm sorry.
All right, let's go to my twin brother from another mother, Todd Pettengill, standing by with the Hart Foundation.
Thank you very much. Obviously, LOD, Psycho Sid looking for a little revenge, and this time, Bulldog, Psycho Sid is in their corner.
You know what? We beat Legion of Doom fair and square at In Your House in April. And tonight, there's no reason why history shouldn't repeat itself right here at the King of the Ring.
That's right, Bulldog. Here, hold this, Pettengill. Hold it up high, show all the people.
Sure.
Now, LOD, you walk out there with the pretty makeup on your faces and your funky little Halloween costume. That doesn't cut it here at the Hart Foundation, because we are family. It takes a hell of a lot more than makeup on your faces to beat us. And you got Psycho Sid in your corner. You can't trust each other. How can you even trust him? Right, Anvil?
You know, and speaking about Psycho Sid, if you think you're crazy, big man, you haven't seen anything yet.
My God. So much maniacal laughter. Who laughs like that in reality?
That was a good impression, I gotta say. I can't
I guess.
start it like the way he does. So that was a good impression.
Well, thank you. I guess.
Can you do
but
Jim
yeah.
Neidhart's laugh as Donnie Wahlberg at WrestleMania 10?
What? Yeah! That's how he would do it, or something like that. It's got to be slower pace. It's not going to be the same cadence. It can't be.
How about Jimmy
That won't
Hart?
be Donnie Wahlberg. Yeah, baby! Ah! Like, that's pretty much where he would laugh like, right? That's Jimmy Hart. Right?
That's a great one.
He ain't got throwing the baby in there when he laughs. That's funny, baby. Gotta love the mouth of the South, man.
baby?
Yeah. You gotta love the mouth of the South, man. Jimmy Hart. What a great nickname, too, Jimmy. The mouth of the
Yes.
South.
Yep.
Great nickname. So after all of that, screaming and yelling,
The match.
we get the match. Not the match in the movie or whatever it was for No Holds Barred.
I mean, we probably could probably have a movie about this, the promos and this match.
Pretty much.
All
We get
holds
the Hart
barred.
Foundation, Owen Hart, British Bulldog, and Jim Neidhart going against the Legion of Doom and Psycho Sid. It turns out, after the fact, that this would be Sid's final WWE pay-per-view match ever. Like, yeah,
Not
this
the
was it.
master and the ruler of the world.
This is it, man.
Well,
This was it. Unless I don't remember him coming back after this in WWE at least.
No,
he
I
wasn't there in '98. I don't remember seeing him in WWE again until I think he show up to beat up Heath Slater one week or something. I don't know,
oh, maybe. Or he was,
something like that.
and he was
I know
supposed to be
Vader
at the 25-year anniversary or something, and I don't think he showed up. It was supposed to be at like a Raw or a SmackDown, maybe the Legends night, but he didn't show up. But
Well, yeah, he did go against Heath Slater in 2012.
Okay.
When Heath Slater was getting beat up by everybody. So, like Vader included. So, all the legends. But one thing before Sid left WWF, one thing I noticed is that his pyro was dope.
Yeah.
Like his pyro was dope. Sid overall, I just think was dope. I don't know why I like Sid a lot. There's always a couple people I like. Scott Steiner's one, Sid is another. And I guess it's the only thing that's really they got in common is that they're both like just crazy type of people, like just unpredictable. They might say anything. They're not good promos for the most part. They're just wild, right, and loud, and like I said, unpredictable, unhinged at certain points. But for some reason, people just loved Sid. I wasn't alone in that. People loved cheering Sid. When he came out in this night at King of the Ring 97, people were going crazy for him. He's high-fiving people, and it's like, hey, Sid, Psycho Sid is back with the real sinister music and stuff like that. And people were liking it. People were digging it. The same thing was the end of 96 when he went up against Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series. Madison Square Garden was all about Sid. I was wrong with him. I was all about Sid. I don't know why. Sid was, in real life, kind of unpredictable. He did some wild stuff, like stab up Arn Anderson in WCW. That's the reason why he got to WWF, I believe. But besides that type of stuff and him bouncing back and forth between the two promotions a lot because he wanted to play softball and stuff like that, as a character, I don't know what it was. I just liked Sid. He seemed like he should have been a much bigger star than what he was, whether that's his own doing, because I'm sure he had something to do with it, or just the promotions he worked for. And the promotions he worked for wanted to push him. It's not like they didn't. They did push him. They put titles on him. He's WWF champion. I think, was he WCW world champion at one point?
Yep.
So he won both top promotions and won their titles. He was in main events. Main evented at WrestleMania. So it wasn't like he wasn't pushed. It's just, again, Sid being Sid probably ruined a lot of those relationships. But I liked him. I've always been a fan of Sid. And I don't know why, but I think I'm not alone in that. I mean,
I always thought the Survivor Series 96 was more anti-Shawn than pro-Sid. But then you kind of fast forward and around here, like, what reason do they have to cheer Sid? There's really no reason, and they're still going crazy for him. So maybe it was a pro-Sid crowd in Survivor Series 96. But, yeah. I mean, I wasn't as big on him as you were. I kind of found him annoying because he hurt my guy Shawn.
Oh,
so, I didn't like him. Yeah.
He hurt the sexy boy. No.
He did.
He hurt the boy toy. Not your boy toy, of course. I'm not going to say that. But everybody else's boy toy, sexy boy, whatever. Well, he's not anybody's boy toy. That's how the song went, right?
Will you stop?
I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. So he was nobody's boy toy. So let's clarify that.
I mean, it was Sonny's. But...
Oh, well. Hey, pal. Goddamn, pal.
Hi, pal.
All right. Goddamn. Let's take it easy. One thing I noticed, the match itself was a match, but speaking of Sid, he's the only person alive from this match, still alive to this day. Of course, Owen Hart passed away in 99. I think Bulldog passed away in 2002, I believe. I think Hawk died in 03. And then Jim Neidhart, he passed away, I think, a couple years ago now. When did Jim Neidhart pass away? He died in 2018. And then in 2020, I believe, or maybe it was 2021, I can't remember now. But Road Warrior Animal died. So yeah, Sid is the only one. Yes, Road Warrior Animal died in September 2020. So, everybody in his match passed away except Sid. So, but speaking of the Hart Foundation, I gotta mention, and the British Bulldog, have you seen the Dynamite Kid Dark Side of the Ring and or the Bret Hart A&E documentary?
I've watched both, but one time through for each, so... things don't stick with me as much as they used to, but I did watch both.
I watched them both as well. I thought they were both very good. Dynamite Kid one was, was crazy because he did a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Watching him in his last match.
How about Jacques Rougeau?
Over in Japan,
a big part of that one.
Right, because
I haven't seen him in a while.
I've heard that story 1,000 times about him punching Dynamite Kid's teeth out with the roll of quarters or the brass knucks or whatever. Which, I mean, hey, that they was going back and forth, for a little while there. That was a crazy time in wrestling with people just literally knocking each other's teeth out. Forget the whole Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, where Shawn Michaels' hair got pulled out. No, people was getting knocked the hell out in the late 80s. They wasn't playing games. But he wasn't the greatest person in the world, Dynamite Kid. But one thing we got to give him credit for is that he's probably the most influential wrestler of this current generation. Like, you look on down the line, you can go from Owen Hart to Daniel Bryan to a whole lot of other guys who've taken pages out of Dynamite Kid's playbook. How about Chris Benoit? They called him the Pegasus Kid. They pretty much named him in Japan after Dynamite Kid. Yeah. Instead of Dynamite, he's Pegasus. Right? Or was it? Yes, Pegasus Kid, right?
Yep.
Pretty sure I'm right. So
yeah, quite a few monikers before just sticking with Chris Benoit.
Right. Yeah, Pegasus Kid. But so yeah, very influential in the ring. But not a great person outside of the ring. Had his demons. Yet there's a dark side to Dynamite Kid, including being very abusive to his wife, and mother of his children. So yeah, it was
in front of his children too.
Yeah, that one particular story was crazy.
Yeah.
But the Bret Hart A&E documentary, I thought was the best A&E documentary so far.
I would tend to agree, and not just because I think, Bret Hart is one of my favorites of all time, but it was interesting. Like, I came away with it thinking, like, what are people going to criticize it about? Just because that's how I watch things nowadays. Even though I enjoyed it, like, I'm preparing to, like, go on Twitter and see people complain about it. And the fact that, they didn't dwell, like, it's hard for me to say how to feel for someone else who loses a family member, but I don't think we got enough of, like, how Bret dealt with Owens passing and Bulldog's passing and stuff like that. But I think it's by design, because I think there's a reason why, like, Bret just simply doesn't talk about it. And I don't think it's our business to know, like, how he coped with certain things and how he came to the decision to, bury the hatchet with Vince McMahon and stuff like that. Like, you have people out here trying to make decisions for him, being like, well, if I had a brother die working for Vince, I would never talk to him again and stuff like that. But, like, you're not in that situation. So I can't judge Bret for that type of stuff. But what I do judge him for is, like, just blaming Bill Goldberg for everything that went wrong with his career. I just feel like it's kind of unfair to Goldberg because, that kick wasn't the only thing that, hurt Bret. Like, he did the figure four ring post spot on Goldberg and smacked his head on the concrete. And I guess you could blame Goldberg for not catching his foot or whatever in time. But there were things that happened before that, and I think he just kind of blames Goldberg for everything that went wrong, which, he's not the only one, but at the same time, I just kind of, I don't know. There's certain things that I just kind of look at and I'm like, I don't know about that. But again, I'm not in the situation. I'm not Bret Hart. I do not know what goes through his head. And he had a stroke too. And I remember him saying before, I don't think they said it in the documentary, but Vince McMahon was one of, like, the first people to call him in the hospital after he had a stroke. So, I mean, stuff like that goes a long way. They have a business relationship, but they also have a personal relationship. And that's nobody's decision. Like, it's nobody's business, I guess, to need to know exactly how their relationship is. It just is what it is. And I think that's the thing I took away the most with this Bret Hart stuff, because we don't really hear much about, like, how he dealt with Owens' death. And I just think he can keep that to himself. He doesn't need to tell us exactly everything that he did. But everyone loved Owens so much that they almost feel like Bret owes it to the fans to be like, well, how did you cope with Owens' death? You don't really talk about it that much. Like, well, like, y'all don't need to know. Like, that's his brother, his family. He grew up with him. Everything that Bret tells us about Owen, we should believe because Bret was his brother, So that's just kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that kind of stuck out the most of the documentary for me.
I thought it hit on a lot of the beats that we expected to hit on. I don't think I learned anything from it, but I still thought it was very well done. They incorporated his drawings.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of cartoons back in the day, and he had some of them saved, which was cool. He had some of them you can show him and stuff like that. Bret Hart's wife, his current wife, is a baddie, bro.
Yeah.
Bret Hart, good for you. That you're a fine black woman. And she's like half his age. But I was like, I knew she was black. I forgot what she looked like. And I saw, I was like, damn, she nice.
Well, I knew the age difference. I knew there was a big age difference. I just don't think I knew like what it was. So he's
Brett
in his 60s,
really
right, or something, and she's in her 30s.
Right, she's like late 30s, something like that. But he really is the excellence of execution, huh? All right. Good Lord, she is nice. So beautiful woman. So
doing the sharpshooter.
Yeah. Besides that, all right. But I just liked it because it was like a redemption story. You know, he went through a lot of stuff, you know, at the end of his time in WWF and then Owen Hart dying.
Yeah.
And he talked about how he had to let a lot of things go in order to move on with his life. And they even talked about his divorce from his first wife, which I'm sure that was rough to deal with for both of them. But they talked about, like, hey, we just had to let things go. Like, and Bret admitted he wasn't a faithful husband. Mm-hmm. But, you know, they talked about that a little bit, and now he's with his current wife, and they seem very happy, and he's, you know, his house now is like the house that his dad built, or his dad moved into back in the day in Calgary. You know, the big Hart house and stuff like that. That was like the central meeting place for everyone in the family, including people, you know, distant members or whoever. Everybody, wrestlers, everybody was going to Calgary involved with wrestling, going to the Hart house. Now Bret's house is like that for his family now, you know, the next generation and the current, you know, his kids and the grandkids and stuff like that. So it's kind of a good way to bring that whole thing full circle. So I thought the A&E documentary was very well done. I think personally the Brian Pillman Dark Side of the Ring was very well done. Probably the best, you know, of this whole run of documentaries we've had in the last couple months. I think the Brian Pillman one's probably the best, but I would put the Bret Hart one as like the second best, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah, and I really thought I dug at the end. They showed his kids, and I remember, you know, his kids were in Wrestling with Shadows. It's one of my favorite documentaries of all time. Please somebody join our Patreon and request Wrestling with Shadows, because that was
please
one of my favorites. And I really think that, like, WWF was a family. And just think about the, you know, 1 year Vince is like trying to get you to stay so you don't go to WCW, and you really don't want to go to WCW. There's no reason to not believe what Bret says and what Vince says.
No, I believe everything he said.
Yeah, and then 1 year
I don't think
later,
Vince has ever denied that neither.
Right.
I don't think Vince has ever come out and said, "Oh, I didn't do that." No, he didn't, because see, that's what happened. He offered Bret with a 20-year deal, which was worth like, I think it was a $10 million, so it would have been like $500,000 a year, something like that. I forget the exact. I think it was $500,000 a year or something like that he would have gotten, and he took that to turn down the deal from WCW, which was like 3 years. I think it was 3.9. It's like a couple million. He would have made like $3 million a year from that. So 3 years, $9 million.
Yeah.
So I guess he took WWF deal. It was like, hey, this is longevity. This is my home. This is where I want to be. So I'm gonna take this deal. And then of course Vince reneged on it after realizing he couldn't pay for it for whatever reason. So technically Vince went back out of the deal. He broke his word on that. But that was only the beginning. Breaking his word. There's more to come.
Yeah.
So
and, you know, put yourself in Bret's shoes. Like, he feel and like they screw him, but he wants to leave with honor, and he has that in his contract, literally. Like, it's creative control his last 90 days with the company. And, you know, just the fact that he dealt with that, it was probably so hard on him and his family, and just dealing with that, like that type of mental stuff. Like, it doesn't matter how much money you make, you're still human. So as a wrestler and that lifestyle, just, you know, going to WCW, now you're having to deal with the likes of Hulk Hogan and people that you don't really want to work with, but you're getting paid way more money than you ever have, you know, and a guy you looked at as a father figure just screwed you, you know, in front of you in your own country. Like that, that causes mental anguish. And I'm not going to pretend to know what Brett went through in that time, but it probably was a lot. I mean, there's a reason he never showed up on WCW till like 6 weeks later. You know, they could have brought him right in. They probably wanted to bring him right in, but he probably needed time to process everything. I mean, any human would when they go through like that. And people could say Brett was a mark for himself all they want, and he took it too seriously, but that's why I love him so much, because he seemed to be the only one that really did. And watching his matches made me a fan and made me believe what I was watching was real.
I think that authenticity definitely helped him. That's what made him who he was. He was the authentic person. He didn't feel like a character. But I do think he took himself too seriously. I do think he was a little bit of a mark for himself, and I think that kind of hurt him. But because he was so serious and, you know, he felt real, that's why people identified with him. So it worked both ways. It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But moving on from the documentary talk, back to King of the Ring 1997. The six-man match was a match. I really don't have much to say about it, except that Owen Hart used a sunset flip to score an upset win over Sid. And I noted that it was like the second sunset flip type of spot to win a match of the night. So,
and it was like
there's that.
So botched. It sucked. It was a boring match. I wrote Neidhart no sell the double clothesline too from LOD like after the pin. I was like he took it and then he just slid out and walked back with Owen and Bulldog.
Slid right out.
Oh, okay.
All right, and plus also, why is LOD still whooping his ass in the match? Like they didn't have to. Like unnecessary.
Maybe they didn't hear the bell. I don't know.
Right, they still just like, all right, we're still pounding away. Like who cares? We get to move on from that. We get a video package recapping Steve Austin's win at the King of the Ring the year prior, and then we get a Mankind interview with Todd Pettengill, who said that Triple H needed to run him over with a truck in order to keep him down in their match in the King of the Ring final. Well, spoiler, Triple H didn't need quite that much to beat Mankind. Here we are, the finals of the King of the Ring, Mankind versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley. We get more Jim Ross factoids throughout the match, you know, including who trained Triple H. Oh, he's trained by Killer Kowalski. So was China, and all that type of stuff. This match was a pretty good match, but at one point, we got Mankind get his head caught in the ropes. And this caused JR to shout, "Mankind is hung." It's like, wait a second. Whoa. Take it easy, JR. Phrasing. Phrasing is important here. We don't know for certain whether Mankind is truly hung. We just know he was hung, you know, he's hanging by the ropes. We don't, look, just phrasing is important. Take it easy. My God. Right. At one point, we get Triple H pedigreeing Mankind through a table, through an announce table. And Vince and JR lost their headsets as a result. Mankind still, you know, found a way to get up and try to get back into the ring because at this, you know, like I said, he said, you know, Triple H needed more than that. He needed a truck, not a pedigree through the table. But while he was getting himself back into the ring, China hit him with the scepter across his back. Despite all that, Mankind still kicked out of the ensuing pin attempt. But Hunter Hearst Helmsley hit yet another pedigree to finally keep Mankind down for a 3 count, and by doing so, became the 1997 King of the Ring. It's a long time coming for Hunter Hearst Helmsley. It finally went from the outhouse back to the penthouse where he was before. And before he went from the penthouse to the outhouse, now he's back in the penthouse. See, and now he is the King of the Ring. It came a year later, but it happened. And of course, because China interfered, JR calls China a Jezebel because that's just like his go-to thing for women he does not like. Right? But after the match, China orders Todd Pettengill to get into the ring.
Well, that's uncalled for. Tasteless. Absolutely tasteless.
What did she do? She threw him in the ring. Get out of here, China.
Threw him in the ring.
Get out of here with
that. According to JR, that was a Jezebel move, I guess.
It was tasteless.
tasteless. Yeah.
How dare she mess with my guy, Todd?
Hunter Hearst Helmsley demands Todd Pettengill put on the robe, which he eventually just took from him. China took from him and put it on Triple H. And then he demanded that Todd Pettengill hand him the crown, signifying that he's the king of the ring. Instead of putting the crown on, though, Triple H just bashed Mick Foley upside the head with it and left.
Yeah.
As your 1997 King of the Ring. But while they were leaving, Mankind made it back to his feet and was crawling to the back, and then eventually made it back to his feet and walked out of the arena. So, Mankind was just a guy who could take a beating. That's what they was pretty much trying to get over here. And it worked as far as endearing him more to the crowd, because we see he's, in a year or so, he's one of the biggest baby faces they have.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the King of the Ring final?
Is WWF for sale? Right now? Because I wonder if Triple H would buy it.
Has Helmsley ever tried to buy the WWF?
I don't believe so.
It's not for sale, is it?
Vince just laughs it off.
Vince cackle, man.
He's like, you don't know my plan, though. Because in about 20 some odd years, it might be. That's the long game.
This is so funny to me.
It's a long-term plan. I'm not going to let Triple H buy it, but he might be able to run it one day. Who knows? Different from buying it. It's all part of the plan,
So, by the way,
Vince
is from
awkwardly laughing it off.
This is from Wikipedia regarding the whole Triple H getting back at the tournament thing. And we know Wikipedia doesn't lie. But, so Triple H was eliminated, obviously, after Ahmed Johnson. He got DQ'd, right? So, on another episode of Raw, he got a spot in the tournament because he said he was not properly instructed before his match with Ahmed Johnson and threatened to sue the WWF with legal action. So he replaced Vader, but I don't know if they told us Vader was injured or just said they took Vader out and he's replacing him. But Vader was actually injured in real life with, he got injured in the match with Ken Shamrock at the May in your house, apparently. But, that's when Triple H was, back into the fold. So I wonder what this whole instructed before the match, whole thing came from. But... weird.
Sounds stupid.
Pretty much.
Sounds dumb. You know what else is dumb? At least something that WWE does nowadays that's really dumb is doing the whole unlikely or reluctant tag team partner storyline. They do it time and time again. But back in 1997, when they did it with Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin, it was brand new. It had never been done.
This kicked ass to me.
And we get a whole kind of retelling of the story through this video package that came after the Mankind match and Triple H match, talking about how they were reluctant tag team partners, but then they became tag team champions, and the whole thing was like, can they coexist? All that. But like I said, WWE has repeated the storyline time and time and time and time and time again. They repeated it with Shawn Michaels. Remember WrestleMania 23?
Yep.
When he was going into the main event of WrestleMania against John Cena? Mm-hmm. One little thing that people might forget is that they were the World Tag Team Champions at that point. I guess they were on Raw, but they weren't the Raw Tag Team Champions. They were the World Tag Team Champions.
With the cool titles.
Right? Yeah, they were much better than the ones they had today. Okay? But they were Tag Team Champions going into that match. And they were in the main event of WrestleMania going against each other. But they've done it so many times, including earlier this year with Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. They were going for the women's tag titles. I think Rhea Ripley and Asuka have been tag team partners this year. And it's always like, can they coexist? Who gives a damn, bro? I don't care. I don't watch wrestling to see everyone get along. Why are we doing this over and over and over again?
And why are you putting
can
in a
they
match?
coexist?
Stop with the match stuff.
We get it, bro. Just do something else. And I love they always say the same thing. But can they coexist? I don't care. I watched the show to see Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks fight each other. Obviously, I'm going to save it for WrestleMania. But in the meantime, they don't have to be friends at all. I don't care if they coexist. I'm watching WrestleMania to see them fight each other. It's just so stale and it's just
yeah,
it's just lazy.
Yeah,
whatever they just
it's like they feel like they're gonna recreate this specific storyline. It's like,
and they never do.
No.
Also, it especially happens a lot when either both characters are baby faces. They do that a lot. It's like, well, we can't think of a way to get them to dislike each other. Let's put them in tag team matches and just have them be dysfunctional. Okay. No, but in 1997, with Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin, it worked because it's the first time. It's the first time tag team partners, tag team champions, were going one-on-one on a pay-per-view. So it was novel back then. It is not novel today. So
yeah, with two big baby faces too. It's Shawn Michaels' first match back since the Royal Rumble.
This was.
He might have had a match after it, but yeah, this was his first match back.
They won the tag titles.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. Well, his first pay-per-view there. I'm not wrong. His first pay-per-view match.
I was like, I'm pretty sure they had a match before this.
Literally, like I knew that too. I was like on the podcast, make sure you say first pay-per-view match, and of course I don't.
I'm pretty sure he had a match before this because they won the tag titles. But you know, maybe he didn't work in another match. Maybe he wasn't there. Maybe Steve Austin won it by himself. I don't know. But we get Bret Hart coming down to the ring because he's supposed to join Vince McMahon and Jim Ross on commentary, but he grabbed the microphone from Todd Pettengill to cut a promo. Todd, get out of here, Todd Pettengill! Don't you learn? I'm going to snatch the microphone out of your hand.
They were like, "Please give me the microphone, Todd." And Todd was like, "Okay."
No, they snatched it out of his hands. Told him to skedaddle. Right?
I gotta do Todd like that.
Because it was mean, I guess. Todd didn't stand up for himself.
He's just there to get paid.
Hey, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Get paid. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. But Bret Hart gets in the microphone and talks about how he's coming back because he was hurt, but he's coming back. And in fact, he's coming back at the Canadian Stampede the next month, which we will cover one day as a deep dive. Please believe, because that main event is worth covering on its own. But he was coming back at the Canadian Stampede in Calgary, which is home of the Stampede event, which is a big deal in Calgary. It's the reason why the CFL team is called the Calgary Stampeders. But he's coming back at the event, and that he was laying down a challenge to 5 wrestlers to go up against the Hart Foundation. Of course, at this point, the Hart Foundation consisted of Bret Hart.
Not just 5 wrestlers, 5 American wrestlers.
Right, that's the thing, 5 Americans. But to go up against himself, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, British Bulldog, Jim Neidhart, and Brian Pillman, who was also, of course, in the Hart Foundation. Because he also wrestled in Calgary. That's how he got in, he wrestled, he played, I should say, for the Calgary Stampeders, who I just mentioned, of the CFL, and that's how he got connected in Calgary to Stampede Wrestling. Again, that word again, Stampede. Big deal out in Calgary. Stampede Wrestling, Calgary Stampeders, Canadian Stampede. It all ties together. So
Stadium Stampede.
So yeah.
Oh, wait, no, never mind.
Different thing. I don't know why they call it a Stampede when it's not in Calgary. There's no horses involved. Well, they had a horse involved last year, right?
I don't remember, honestly.
I could have sworn somebody was riding a horse. Was it Adam Page riding a horse or something?
Probably.
I could have swore that happened. But, yeah, that's weird. Why did they call it the Stampede? Never thought about that.
Just because they had to make it alliterate, I guess. The stadium.
I guess.
They needed it.
If it was in Calgary, I would get it. But, okay, whatever. So we get that promo, and then Bret Hart walks over to the announce table because he's supposed to join the announce team. But Jared Briscoe and other officials are like, nope, you got to leave. Oh, you and your homies all wearing the leather jackets, which are dope, by the way. The Hart Foundation leather jackets were dope. Let's just be honest, right?
Yes.
But y'all gotta leave. All right? Y'all got to go. And I think all of them, I'm pretty sure all of them wrestled in Calgary in Stampede Wrestling. Yeah, so I know of that for certain because they talked about that in the Dynamite Kid documentary, that Bulldog was also there as well. And so it's not hard. But, and of course, Owen did as well. And I just mentioned that Brian Pillman was there at one point too. But Jared Briscoe came down, told everybody, all the Hart Foundation to leave. And Bret Hart was like, oh, this is freedom of speech. What the hell are you talking about there? You just talked to the whole world for like 5 minutes. Now all of a sudden you're declaring freedom of speech. Okay. So they kicked him out.
That's the funniest thing. It's like, but there's no headset, so you're just going to take it from Vince. And then he's like, my freedom of speech. It's like, man, he just took it from Vince. What about his freedom of speech?
Bret Hart is also a heel, so
yeah, it made me laugh because he's still like anti-American, but he's like citing American Constitution.
Freedom of speech, right? So once they're leaving, we then go backstage to Doc Hendricks interviewing Steve Austin.
All right, standing by now, ladies and gentlemen, Doc Hendricks. Doc, can you hear us?
I sure can, Vin. Thanks a lot. Stone Cold, to state the obvious, Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation are probably hoping you and Shawn Michaels annihilate each other, take each other out of the mix, so to speak. I don't think it's any secret that you and Shawn Michaels are not best friends, probably won't ever be best friends, but you are WWF Tag Team Champions. That is putting green in your jeans, and I know you want to prove a personal point to each other, but where do you draw
green
the line
in your
for
jeans?
proving a point or hurting each other and hurting your chances of staying WWF Tag Team
Don't hurt
Champions?
each other.
In my opinion, the point has already been proved. Shawn Michaels knows that I am indeed the captain of the tag team. You're damn right you make more money if you got some belts around your waist. I won't deny that fact. Do I want to go out there and cripple Shawn Michaels? You damn right. No, on second thought, I don't want to do that because I'll keep him around to keep the belts around our waist. But Shawn Michaels, you hear this. Yeah. You force me to turn up the violence factor, you can damn well bet I'll do it. And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
All right.
Like, it's so perfect.
Great promo. But the logic makes perfect sense, and it's a logic that just doesn't get used anymore. And that if you're a champion of any kind, you make more money. So Steve Austin, he used the logic like, hey, I'm making money with Shawn Michaels. So yeah, I want to beat him, but I don't want to cripple him. So because we're the champs. Makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
Me too.
So, right. So after this promo, here comes probably the coolest part of the show, in my opinion. Because Austin walks through the hallway, tosses his foam cup down for some reason. I don't know why he did that. That's littering. Don't do that. But he walks through the hallway and into the gorilla position, which is at the same time the Hart Foundation is still arguing with a bunch of officials. Right?
Perfect.
And of course, Bret Hart and Steve Austin, sworn enemies, which means the Hart Foundation doesn't like Steve Austin either. He walks up, Steve Austin that is, walks up to see all the commotion, and he starts talking trash and jawing with, of course, Brian Pillman there too. He just beat up Brian Pillman earlier in the show, gave him a swirly, like he was in high school again. And he's talking trash to Brian Pillman. He's like, oh yeah, I'll see y'all later, I'll come back. You know, I'll whoop your ass when I come back. You know what I'm saying? And the officials are in between them, and Austin's talking trash. And he goes from there, walks out through the curtain, his music hits, boom, he's in the ring. One thing I noticed, though, was that from the time Steve Austin hit that hallway to the time he walked through the curtain was all one shot. And I loved it. Because it was like everything was happening in real time. We just follow Steve Austin, and just so happened he's also there at the same time as the Hart Foundation. And it was just like, this is the stuff I love that WWE or a lot of wrestling promotions just don't do anymore, specifically WWE. Things are just happening. Things are happening in the living, breathing world. Things are so regimented and formulaic and segmented that this wouldn't happen today. They wouldn't have a guy cut a promo and then walk through and bump into some other people and then walk out through the curtain all in one shot.
Yeah.
There'd be a million cuts. The camera be shaking. Everybody would be looking at the camera somehow, like they'd be facing the camera, angled towards the camera. That wasn't what was happening here. It was just stuff was just happening. Austin had his back to the camera for a good portion of it. And he wasn't turning and looking at the camera. He wasn't angled toward the camera. He was looking at the Hart Foundation and talking trash to them, right? Mm-hmm. Not angled, straight on. And then he just walks out. I was like, damn, that was dope. I thought that was brilliantly produced by WWF. It just felt real. I just loved it.
You saw when they finally switched that shot to the front of him coming down the aisle, you saw the cameraman behind him just kind of move off to the side. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, why in today's WWE do we not want the cameraman to be in the shot? You know, like, I don't understand that, and I never will. Like, it made it so much better, and that's exactly right. And I didn't even notice that, and it's something that I probably should have, because I hate WWE camera work nowadays, like a lot of people do. And you would think I would have noticed that. The one thing I did notice is they kind of use like a wide-angle lens with a lot of the action in the ring that we didn't see much of in that era, where the cameraman at ringside was shooting the ring, but you saw the entire ring. And you saw like the action taking place inside the entire ring before they would like switch angles and stuff. And I don't think we had that. You know, in other pay-per-views, I don't remember that angle being used that much. So I think they were tinkering a little bit with this pay-per-view, because that's what I remember about this pay-per-view a lot, is those angles in the ring. But that's a good point. Like that one shot with Austin, I didn't even think about until you mentioned it.
Yeah, I always love like one shots. Like, I'm sure they're not easy to do. I'm sure it takes a lot of rehearsal, and like movies at least. This was not. I don't think they rehearsed this. They just did it. One take Jake style, right? But in movies, there's so many moving parts that might happen, especially if there's a lot of background characters and extras and stuff like that. I'm sure that takes a lot of rehearsals, because you got to get it in one shot. There's no cutting, no editing around, continuity error or mistake or nothing like that. That's a lot of work. But you see it I saw it in like Creed, I believe. I think it was the first one. In one of his fights, it was a long portion of one of his fights that was one shot, right? And the epic one is like Goodfellas, when he takes Karen out to dinner for the first time. I like saying that's how he said her name, Karen, right? Henry Hill, not Tommy, Henry Hill. But he takes out to dinner at the fancy restaurant. Maybe not for the first time, but it was like one of their first times. It was early on in their relationship, and he goes through the back door because he has a special entrance because he's connected, right? He's a wise guy. So he goes through the back door, and he goes through all these back hallways, and doesn't have to wait in line like everybody else. Goes through the back hallways, saying hi to everybody, walks through the kitchen, and then finally walks into the main dining room, walks past people waiting for their table, walks past them, and you hear him go, hey, how come he gets to jump in line? He walks into the dining area. They bring out a whole table for him, like sit down in the middle of the dining room, boom, bring a lamp out, chairs, boom, the whole nine, set it up just for him, and he sits down. And now all of those shots, all that whole scene, I should say, was one shot. It was incredible. So I always like when I see it, especially when it's well done. I appreciated it here from WWF. I would like to see it more often, especially when there's other things happening. We could have just followed Steve Austin and that would have been it. Instead, we saw him walking, and just so happened the Heart Foundation was still coming out. He's drawing with them. It's just a nice little layer to Steve Austin's character. Just, he's talking trash, and they hate him. And then he walks out, the glass breaks, boom, he hits the ring. I thought it was dope.
Yep.
I thought it was super dope. Like I said, in that time period today, they probably would have cut like 45 times. And then the camera would have been shaking and all this stuff. But instead, one clean shot all the way pretty much to when he made his entrance. I thought it was dope. So, kudos to WWE for that one.
18-point lead after 3.
Please. What's that?
18-point lead after 3.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the updates.
Ben Simmons was getting his knee worked on a little bit.
Oh!
Hopefully it's not serious.
All right.
He wasn't he wasn't whistling or anything, but yeah, he's on the bench, and they were just kind of like rotating it and trying to, yeah. So
because once they're in the locker room, that's when I start getting worried. But if he's still on the bench, I'm good.
We'll see what happens when they come back from the commercial. So
yeah, we come back. Well, after Steve Austin makes his entrance, Shawn Michaels does his interview. Nothing special here, but then we get to the match. We get to the match itself. Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, the World Tag Team Champions, going 1-on-1 against each other. First time this happened on pay-per-view. But an interesting thing happened early on in this match.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. and that a Special Olympian with Down syndrome apparently fell over the guardrail cheering for Shawn Michaels. This man was a Shawn Michaels fan, big Shawn Michaels fan. Fell over the guardrail and like security like swooped in. I mean, and I don't really blame him. Like, you want to protect everybody involved in the ring, so you make sure like, oh, whoa, what's going on here? They want to. Their instinct is to protect, right? Anybody jumping on the guardrail has to get like kind of dealt with. But Shawn Michaels, which was like very nice of him, went over to check on him. And I said, oh, hey, you good? You okay? All right, cool. It's funny, though, and that while Shawn Michaels was doing this, Austin just didn't give a damn. Just ran over and started punching Shawn Michaels while he's checking on the Special Olympian, right? And they start fighting. And then after they mix it up a little bit, Shawn Michaels goes back over to the Special Olympian and made sure he was okay. Like, he told security, no, don't worry, I got him. And kind of led him away. And to his caregivers, his caretakers came over and helped him, out of the arena. And he was, happy and cheering for Shawn Michaels and stuff like that. But yeah, it was Shawn Michaels and referee Tim White too. So they both was like, hey, you good? Like, okay, like, that's cool. Let's make sure you're okay. Like, I thought that was very nice of them. Like, I was kind of like touched by that. I was like, wow, like, Shawn Michaels might have been an asshole. Like, big asshole. But he really made sure, went out of his way, live on pay-per-view, in a big match against Steve Austin, to make sure this kid was okay. Yeah. And because he's special needs. So let's not have security swoop in on him and tackle him. Now, and it's kind of broaden the scope a little bit. It's something that we need to be more mindful of in society. Because a lot of times people have the police called on them. Yeah. Because, they're doing something, whatever. People call the police on them. But it turns out they're special needs. They need special attention. They don't need the police to come in and just physically confront them. Right. Put them to the ground, handcuff them, throw them to the back of a police car, throw them in the back of a police car, because this person might be special needs that they may not know how to calm down in that moment. You know what I'm saying? And that's when, because you're not calming down, the cops escalate, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't take that into account a lot of times in our society. Cops come in, they're taught, they're trained to stamp out the situation, end it, right? And you take these measures to end it. But the society doesn't really take into account people with mental health issues, right? And that doesn't necessarily even mean special needs. People might have anxiety. People might have bipolar disorder, something like that. It's just not taken into account a lot of times in our society. So I think that's something we're still not where we need to be in 2021 to really like, hey, let's take care of this person and not just quickly disarm them in any sort of physical way. And I thought that Shawn Michaels and Tim White did the right thing. I was like, hey, hey, you okay? You're okay? Good. Hey, caretaker comes in. All right, we lead him off to the back. He's fine. And nothing happens to him. He's not harmed in any way, which probably could have happened if it was security, only doing it. Probably would have tackled him, subdued him, handcuffed him, whatever. This way, nothing happened to him. So I thought that was pretty dope, actually.
Yeah, I grew up around special needs kids, but at the time, it wasn't like looked at the way it is now, where like I think it's better now, obviously, and the fact that I've been in education and working with special needs kids and really understanding where the triggers come from and how to read it and how to help, if I see it happen in public to someone I don't even know, and being able to understand like what I could do to help the situation instead of exacerbate it has really, opened my eyes a lot to, people with special needs where, if they're having a meltdown or whatever, it doesn't mean they're always going to get violent. It doesn't mean they're going to do something bad. It just means they need to get back in that routine or that headspace of where they feel okay again. And there's ways to get them back there now that, we didn't really think of back then. Even as a kid, I had classmates that were kind of like that, but they didn't really separate them at that time. So they were in the same class we were, and it was kind of normal. Like we were okay. And the kids today are really good with, their peers. That when they recognize, special needs and stuff, and they try and help when they can and stuff like that, but also knowing, when to call for help if they can't, obviously help that person. So it's really opened my eyes the last few years being in education and seeing that up close every single day and being able to help and being able to notice and react to the difficulties they face with certain things. And obviously this Special Olympian that, they called him a Special Olympian, and I tried to look him up, and I was going to give him a shout out, but I could not find this person's name. I even reached out to David Bixens's band, who's pretty good with the research in wrestling history, and he did not know the name of this, person. But clearly,
if Bix don't know it, and it's lost in the ether. Right. Bix would know.
Like, I just wanted to, because we saw when Shawn Michaels went back to him, they were security was like literally trying to drag him out. So Shawn was like, no, we're not going to do that. He took him and started walking him back, and I'm assuming that was his mom that ran up the aisle to be with him and walk him to the back, and like that's how things should be handled, like that. Just not trying to drag them away, and whatever. Especially when you realize, like, in 1997, absolutely different. Research wasn't there, I guess, enough for
right. The
security
awareness
guards to
there.
Yeah, exactly. And even
like
a security
the awareness
guard
of
now,
like people. The awareness of people on the spectrum, the autism spectrum, is
Right.
way higher than what it was back in
Right.
'97. And people are, I think, more aware of, especially people on the spectrum nowadays, than what they were back 20 some odd years ago. It's just people didn't even know what that was. Some people what autism was, but again, glad that this wasn't one of those situations where, like you said, somebody were either with mental health issues, whether it's like bipolar or anxiety or panic attack. Something like that, or special needs, this didn't be, like you said, exasperated or worsened by security just jumping and dragging them away and all this and that. That's not going to help this person. This person's not going to calm down, and be in a good space. You want this person to feel safe and feel comfortable. And then when that happens, all of a sudden, there's no physical, assault, happen. Nobody's getting hurt. Nobody's getting harmed. So.
Yeah. And this is how corny the wrestling business is. There were actually people that thought it was staged to highlight, hey, Shawn Michaels is a good person, because he was such a nightmare backstage. And people in the business knew, like, Shawn Michaels was, a head case to deal with. And
I don't know how you stage that with a person with Down syndrome.
There were people legit thought that it was staged just to highlight Shawn Michaels. Hey, he's a good guy. Like, kind of.
Do people even know that he was like the way he was backstage? I don't think the audience knew that. Like, I don't think they knew that. So,
I mean,
I don't know how you stage that with a person. Like I said, a person with Down syndrome. How do you stage that? Like, I don't know how you do that. And also, Tim White got involved too. It wasn't like it was just Shawn Michaels. Tim White also was like, hey, we're good. Like, hey, calm down. Like, we're good. Let's go this way. Like, So again, that was something like, that was a good. I thought that was handled well by Shawn Michaels and Tim White. Security, they did their jobs, but I just wish that people like that could be trained different. When this person is special needs, like, it's not like this. I think he was introduced to the crowd or something like that at one point. So he was like a special guest, for WWE, I think. So like, hey, we know he's special needs. Let's not swoop in and just tackle him. It wasn't like I don't think, at least I didn't see, maybe he was trying to attack Steve Austin, something like that, which you don't want to happen.
Well, I mean,
so you make sure that doesn't happen.
That's kind of, he was in the ring. He was trying to get at his feet or trying to get in the ring.
Okay.
That's one of the first things.
Okay.
That was right after.
So you make sure.
Right after Austin gave him the fingers, he walks away, and that's when you saw that whole thing start to take place.
Right. So you make sure that doesn't happen, but after that,
right.
Make sure Steve Austin doesn't get hurt. But after that, okay, let's calm the situation down, and make sure nobody gets hurt. That's what you should do. But it's always like with police and even like security, it's like force.
Yeah.
Some type of force.
Yeah.
Not like care.
That's all they know.
It's
it's all they knew.
Right. That's what they're trained to do.
They need to include, like, if I get training on noticing triggers and signs and special needs that can be addressed, so should they.
Right.
Just add to their training.
Right. And hopefully that happens, moving forward.
If it's not happening now, Hopefully it is tomorrow.
Because it could save some lives, man. Like, it could really save some lives. Honestly, people have died in these situations. And it can really, like I said, save some lives and prevent trauma. Even if they don't die, there could be traumatic experiences for people involved. And we don't need that. The less trauma, the better. The less death, the better, obviously. It's unnecessary death, So, that was something that definitely stuck out to me early on in this match. Once that was over, Shawn Michaels and Austin got back into it. At one point, Austin mocked Shawn Michaels' pose, which I thought was pretty funny.
He did that in the Royal Rumble, too, in 96, as the ringmaster.
He did? I don't remember that.
Oh, man. That was what made me laugh. It was like a throwback to me. Just thinking how different the ringmaster in January 96 was to Stone Cold Steve Austin in June 97 doing the same thing. It was so funny, like, just remembering the fact that he did that, because he got in the ring and I guess hit Shawn Michaels and then did the pose or whatever as the ringmaster during the Royal Rumble. It cracked me up. Yeah,
that's funny. This match was very good, though.
Yes,
this match was very good. This match was what they wanted their WrestleMania 14 to be. It would have been if Shawn Michaels wasn't hurt.
And Austin,
but obviously
this was before his pile driver.
That's true. That's true too. Yes, that's 100% facts. But also the dynamics would have been different because Steve Austin by this point was a full-fledged, by 98 was a full-fledged babyface. Yeah. He wasn't just getting cheered and announcers going, I don't know why they like him. They're saying, I don't know why, but the people love him. The worse he is, the more he cheats, the more people like him. Stuff like that. By 98, he was a full-fledged babyface, even though he was still the anti-hero, but he was definitely, they wasn't saying, we don't know why people like him at that point. Shawn Michaels, on the other hand, was a full-fledged heel, not the babyface sorter tweener that he was here in 97. Right? Because the Bret Hart stuff was serious. That wasn't, he wasn't a babyface with that stuff. So like I said, babyface for the most part, but still has some heel tendencies to him. So the dynamic would have been different, but this was what, Shawn Michaels was in very good health, even though he had the knee thing. That's the reason why he lost his smile and everything. But Steve Austin, like you said, hadn't had the pile driver that broke his neck yet, and hadn't really had the terrible knee injuries yet too. He wasn't hampered by that at all, at least in 97, at least not yet. So they were both in really good shape and could go. And this match was great, in my opinion. Best match of the night, easily.
Yeah. This match basically was the pay-per-view for me, especially when they started the promotion for King of the Ring. It was supposed to be Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and I was like, oh, here we go. And obviously Bret was too hurt, couldn't come back in time. So they pivoted to Shawn Michaels and Austin, but, I think it was even better because what could they have done with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels at King of the Ring? It was not even a top. Yeah, I mean, it was, their fifth pay-per-view, but it's Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. That's another WrestleMania, and maybe they wanted because they got couldn't do it earlier that year. They wanted to do it right away, but I mean they wound up doing it in the Survivor Series. But it was funny. The other four Hart Foundation members were supposed to be handcuffed to the ring post during that match. They had it all laid out, and then I think they changed it a week or two before. So. But really, I liked this more because they did the whole tag team angle with the titles. They added the titles. That really grabbed me at this point because I had never seen it before. Like you said before, this is the first time they really did it, and I loved it.
Yeah, this was dope. The story was dope because it's the first time WWE had done it. Like I said, they abused it ever since. And the match turned out great. Even the finish kind of made sense, even though they was just knocking out referees. At one point, Austin hit the stunner, but how was it? Austin he stuns the referee. That's what he did, right? Because he knocked over the official. Well, he knocks the official out over by mistake. Then he hits Shawn Michaels with the stunner, but the referee was still down. Austin picks up the referee, puts him with the stunner, hits him with the stunner, right? But after he hit him with the stunner, he walked into Sweet Chin music from Shawn Michaels. So a second referee comes in. Instead of counting Shawn Michaels' penalty, because Shawn Michaels is covering Steve Austin, right?
Like they do every single other match. When
right.
They come
Instead
in.
of he ran right by the pin attempt and just checked on Earl Hebner. Was it Earl Hebner, right?
Oh, Tim White.
It was Tim White. Yes, of course. I just mentioned it earlier. It's Tim White, right?
Should have been Earl. Stun his ass.
No. Oh, okay. That's fair. But so the second referee checks on Tim White. Shawn Michaels is like, hey, man, I'm over here pinning somebody. You should be counting. That's what referees do. You count. All right? No matter what. So take out his frustrations. Shawn Michaels super kicks the second referee. And I got to put it down here. He deserved it because he was stupid. What did you doing?
He did.
So we got 2 referees down. Each guy knocked out a referee. Then Earl Hebner comes out and disqualifies both Austin and Michaels. So we got a double disqualification here. Rightfully so. They can't just beat up referees. But then it's funny. Austin tried to hit Shawn Michaels with the belt, with the tag team belt after the match. It's like he didn't want to hurt him, but then he couldn't help himself. I gotta hit him with the belt. And then they tried to hit each other with the belts. They each had their tag team belts in their hands and going to hit each other with them. And then it's like, all right, no, let's chill. You know, because we're tag team partners, right? We're tag team champions. We're in this together, right? And they let them ring together, and they're arguing with each other. And like, all right, you go. No, you go. I'm like, no, I'm not going to let you walk behind me. You go. So I thought that was kind of funny. And it worked.
Everything, like their characters. Shawn Michaels had a little more attitude to him at this point, but he's still like Shawn Michaels. He's not DX Shawn Michaels yet, but he was going up against Austin, who at the time I really didn't like as a face. I was like, why do people like him? He's so fresh, like he's so mean, and he doesn't care about Shawn Michaels, who's supposed to be like the guy, like my guy. And I remember, like, I didn't warm up to Austin until like SummerSlam, like after this Shawn Michaels stuff, because I didn't want to have to like pick a side or something. So like Canadian Stampede happened. Shawn Michaels was hurt again, I think, after this, so he wasn't in Canadian Stampede. So I could like focus on Austin, be like, okay, and the fact that, you know, Bret Hart was a heel in America and Austin was like leading the Americans, even though he didn't care like who was his partners. Then I was on the Austin bandwagon at that point, like 100%. But here I was just kind of like, man, why you got to be mean to Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, this is great though. I thought this was dope. It's too bad it didn't lead to a lot more between these two. I thought this had potential.
Yeah.
And it abruptly ended when they had to drop the titles, but this had some potential. Now, of course, they got a WrestleMania main event out of it, but the dynamics are totally different. Shawn Michaels was in bad shape physically, probably in worse shape mentally than he was here in 97. So, yeah, it was just a lot different at that point. But on this night, I thought everything worked. Everything clicked. So, kudos to Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin. What would you expect from these two? Like, these two are the best of all time.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels in the ring, you know, is top 3 or 4 at best ever. And then Steve Austin, at this point, was great in the ring. People forget how good Steve Austin was in the ring before that neck injury. He was among the best in the world. And then the neck injury happened, he changed up his style. So
still could pop a crowd. So that's what they needed.
Yeah. He can still talk, still that mouth, he could talk. And he can still do enough to have still really good matches too. It wasn't like Steve Austin's out here having bad matches after the neck injury. He was still tearing up the show. You know what I'm saying?
You know, I wrote in my notes before they walk up the aisle together. It was like after, I guess, they were trying to hit each other, and Shawn asked him why he stunned the ref, and Austin was like, he's a jackass, and Shawn Michaels like, everyone here is a jackass. So it's like at least they agree on that. At least they can agree on that.
They can agree on that. That's what this had potential.
Yeah.
It was almost like, it was weird. Like I got like kind of like Lethal Weapon vibes from it. You ever seen Lethal Weapon?
No.
Oh, God. Lethal Weapon, classic. But Riggs and Murtaugh always argue with each other, but there's some things they get on the same page about. But for the most part, they're bickering, especially in the first Lethal Weapon. They're bickering all the time. They were like the reluctant partners. You know, you've seen this in movies a lot over the years.
Yeah.
Rush Hour, you know, stuff like that, where they're reluctant, they argue, but they find common ground, and they, you know, catch the bad guys. Or sometimes kill the bad guys. Who knows? But this is the vibe I kind of got. This could have worked moving forward. They could have got this had some legs to it, but it didn't work out that way. You know. So
These Sixers, man.
what's the man? Don't do this to me.
It's 5.5 minutes left, and it's down to 11.
Okay. All right. Look. Don't panic yet, man. They cut it down 7 points. Look, you gotta expect some type of comeback. It's basketball.
They were up 23.
You gotta expect some type of comeback here, man. This is basketball, especially playoff basketball.
They were up 23 after they were up 18, so this is why it's annoying me.
Oh, they increased the lead and they cut it in half.
They just hit a 3, so it's an 8-point game now.
All right, don't tell me anything more about this game, please. Please. All right.
Oh my God! Stone Cold Steve Austin's there.
Oh my God. Moving on from Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels.
Triple H comes out and pedigrees the Hawks.
Well, I mean, we might need it at this point. If they're coming back like this.
And they're going to hit another 3. They're just taking 3s. Well, that one didn't hit, but they got the offensive rebound. Another 3 attempts. They missed that one. But I'm just sitting here doing play-by-play while you're like, please stop doing the play-by-play. I'm just sitting here.
I'm like hanging on your every word now. I'm like, did we get the rebound? Huh?
But
did we get it?
When Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold walking back, like just the way Steve Austin's looking to his side, like I laughed like literally back then watching it live, and now it's just the best thing. Like literally no wasted opportunity to just make sure that we saw that story work like perfectly. No wasted opportunity. It was just absolutely awesome. One of my favorite moments of the entire pay-per-view was just them walking to the back together. Just looking at each other.
This was the main event. The next match, I mean, it happened, and it was technically the main event, but nobody talks about this. All right? But what we will talk about, though, is Todd Pettengill interviewing Farouk before the match.
Undertaker, don't worry about Paul Bearer's blackmail. You worry about this blackmail.
Don't worry about that blackmail. Worry about this blackmail. As he's referring to himself, a black male. So, because the story here is that Paul Bearer is blackmailing The Undertaker because he has a big secret holding over his head. And of course, this secret was eventually Kane. You know, he had a brother who survived the fire. It's Kane. It's gotta be Kane. It was Kane. And that would happen a couple months from now. But actually, the same day that Brian Pillman died, of bad blood in 1997, unfortunately. Yeah. But that's what the secret was. Spoiler, eventually. But at this point, we don't know that. They didn't even make mention of.
Wait a second. Ben Simmons just hit 2 free throws.
What?
2 in a row.
That's my boy. That's my boy. That's my boy. That was worth cutting into. I appreciate that. But they didn't even make mention at this point that Kane was even a thing. It was just a secret at this point.
Right.
So that's why Farouk said, "Don't worry about that blackmail. Worry about this blackmail." Right. But of course, this leads to the WWF Championship match. Farouk versus The Undertaker. This was a match. I really got not much to say about it.
Yeah.
Undertaker did a real crazy dive outside of the ring after he was ready to hit the, I guess we call it now old school. I don't know what you would call it back then, but instead of, doing like the arm smash over Farouk's back, he jumps outside of the ring on top of every member of the Nation of Domination. But other than that, it was a good match. It was a match. I'm going to say it was a good match. It was there.
I remember, I think this was before I knew Farouk was Ron Simmons. Like, he looks familiar, but to me, like, I had those WCW Ron Simmons cards, so he had the mustache, and I was like, I don't know, is that the same guy? Because I couldn't tell, without the mustache.
Are you Randy Savage?
I was like,
weren't you Ron Simmons in World Championship Wrestling? Didn't you play at Florida State? which Jim Ross made sure to mention like no less than 5 times. They retired his number at Florida State.
Yeah.
He's the best player in Florida State history. Him and Deion Sanders.
Yeah. Just, so I was like, I don't know. Is that Ron Simmons? Like, I wasn't sure, but at the same time, like, he wasn't a main eventer at this point either. So I'm like, Undertaker and Farouk in the main event. Like, I'm totally not interested at all.
Right.
But then they had, the Ahmed thing at the end. And that got me a little interested because I was still an Ahmed guy. But, yeah, this whole, like, secret thing, I mean, looking back, it was really a good story to plant the seed for Kane. And it took, like, all summer, basically, because it really started right after he won the title. And then it kind of manifested because Paul Bearer was like, oh, he's the champion, so now I can hold this over him. So that whole thing, I think, was done well. But I was just kind of waiting for it to finally happen. And I was like, oh, this summer, like, we'll see Kane, or not Kane, but this summer we'll find out the secret. But it kept dragging on and
it could have happened at SummerSlam.
On and on. It could have, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And
that would have been the place for it to happen, but it didn't. They kept it going. That's what they kicked off the Shawn Michaels feud.
And I was too young to really understand the scope of what Bearer was trying to say. I didn't know very many big words. I was just kind of like, wait, like I needed to watch those weekly programs on the weekend to kind of let them explain it, because I was just kind of like, what? Like, wait, so he has a brother who died, but he's not dead. But I needed, Top Hat to explain that to me, so the whole thing was kind of like over my head a little bit at the time. And I was just waiting for it to finally have like the payoff. And I wasn't used to waiting this long as a wrestling fan for like that payoff, because it literally lasted from April or May to October. Like, that's a ridiculously long time.
Right.
But I looking back, obviously, I think it was awesome. An awesome story to try and get Undertaker another Mankind foe to him, because after that happened in '96, the Undertaker Mankind like epic feud, like they didn't really do anything with the Undertaker in '97 until Kane. Like, they gave him the title, but there was no feud really. I mean, they did the Mankind match again, but they weren't. It wasn't the same.
He did Mankind, he did Steve Austin, and he got it Farouk, and then they finally moved on eventually to Bret Hart, and then he lost the title. So
yeah.
Funny thing here, you mentioned Ben Simmons hitting both free throws. My girl just texted me the same thing. Ben Simmons just hit both free throws. It's a big deal.
Then he missed two. So.
Oh, okay, back to normal.
I was hoping
Take
that.
the good with the bad.
I was hoping,
Take the good with the bad.
And then they hit a 3, so I think it's a 6-point game now or something.
Oh God.
Yeah,
oh man.
So.
How much time?
They're showing highlights now, coming back from a commercial, so I gotta
go on ESPN.com now. 3 minutes left. Yeah, 6-point game. Oh God, my life is so stressful.
Lou Williams, 15 points with 13 this quarter. What the hell is Lou doing, man?
Jeez.
If he hits another dagger, he's gonna hit another dagger in Philly, but for another team.
Let's sit down somewhere, Lou Williams. You got time for this? Sit down. All right.
Did you notice during this match when Farouk hit the Undertaker with a power slam, but Undertaker kicked out? Like, Bearer looks pissed on the outside. The camera catches him, and he looks pissed off, and then he's like, "Get away from me!" to the cameraman. Like, are you mad because Undertaker got hit with a power slam, or are you mad that he kicked out? Like, what's going on here? Like, I wasn't fully following Bearer's thing because he was so annoying to me. Like, now I obviously know he's doing such a great job to make me hate him, but I absolutely hated it. I hated him back then.
Paul Bearer is pretty funny after the match too, because Undertaker wins. He gets the tombstone on Farouk. Farouk was distracted by the Nation of Domination arguing with each other. And that's allowed Undertaker to hit the tombstone and win the match. After the match, Farouk is laid out on the ground. He's selling the tombstone. Paul Bearer asks Undertaker, he tells Undertaker, "Hey, go and chokeslam Farouk." And Undertaker doesn't want to do it at first, but he reluctantly does it because he's holding this secret again over Undertaker's head. So Undertaker reluctantly chokeslams Farouk. Paul Bearer asks him to do it, forced him to do it 2 more times. Right? Chokeslammed him 2 more times. That's when Ahmed Johnson comes out, curses at the Undertaker. What you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Ah, he's yelling at him. And then he hits Undertaker with a Pearl River plunge. And while Undertaker is lying on the ground, Paul Bearer standing over Undertaker like, get up! He's kicking his arm.
Like kicking him. Like he's like that picture of the guy holding the stick, like trying to with a rocker.
Come on,
like, move,
do something. Do something.
Too funny.
So that was kind of funny, actually. But Undertaker does get up and like scares the hell out of Paul Bearer, and Paul Bearer runs away, and that's the end of the show. That is King of the Ring 1997.
Follow me at _Picone on Twitter and TikTok. Follow me at Picone Nick on Threads and at Picone on Blue Sky. You follow us at Shooters Radio on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and we're at shootersradio.com and shooterspod.com. You can check me out at crossingbroad.com as well.
All right, I am at Vaughn M. Johnson on X, at Vaughn Johnson 166 on IG, at Vaughn Johnson on Blue Sky and Threads. You can check me out there. I think I'm on actually at Vaughn Johnson 166 on Blue Sky too. No, on Blue Sky on Threads as well. But you can check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/shootersradio, where you can request a future deep dive just like this one. And when you do, you can make a cameo on the show that we're diving deep into. Once again, patreon.com/shootersradio.
I'm gonna scrutinize you to the fullest, pasteurize you, homogenize you, and synchronize you back into morality.